The internet.
The internet's not real.
Hit the button.
Nobody's
live
ever
on the internet.
The internet is live.
Nobody's ever going to do anything real on the internet. What are you talking about?
What's real?
There haven't been any real humans on the internet since what?
No.
2013.
It's all pod
That's the
people.
theory.
Wait, who is this person? It's Mike Kreider. He's joining us.
Mike, the internet's Mike Kreider.
Yeah. Welcome back, Mike, to the pre-show. This is the pre-show, supposedly. I guess I don't have it. Oh, yeah. The pre-show is up and going here on the Full Nerd Podcast, a part of the Full Nerd Network of podcasts.
It's like we always say here
We're
at the
a-
Full Nerd Network.
we're a
What
network
up,
now?
chat?
well, I mean, right now our network only has one thing, but by the end of this week, we
Maybe-
should have two things.
Maybe a second.
And I'm also planning on a third thing. Actually,
What?
no, and a fourth thing. 'Cause
Wait, what's the
we got
third
your
thing?
thing?
Yeah, my
your
thing, your thing, our thing,
Yeah.
this thing. What's the third? What's the?
No,
what's
it's
the?
this thing, your thing.
Yeah, our thing.
Our thing.
That's 3.
And then I'm planning
There's
a
a fourth? I don't know about the fourth.
Yeah, it's a
Some
secret.
mystery.
It's a secret.
All in on the Full Nerd, baby.
The Full Nerd Network of podcasts.
Yeah, the Fine Family.
Yeah, Fine Family. Hello. We're here.
hello, everyone.
Welcome everybody. I see all the cool kids in the chat. Lewis, Tanmay, Davina, Jojo, Steven, OBG. Loss of scaling. We're talking about loss of scaling and all that kind of stuff. This is the pre-show of the podcast. We are going to talk about PC hardware today, and actually a little bit of
I
software.
thought we were talking about nerdy stuff.
We will be talking about nerdy stuff.
There's no nerdy stuff
but
here.
today, in this pre-show, I need to ask Elena a question while she's drinking out of her Yeti.
Yes.
I've heard a rumor that you don't like Trader Joe's.
What?
What?
I'm with Elena.
Hey,
Wait, where'd you hear that?
I don't remember this. I have this in my pre-show notes from a while ago that at some point you said you don't like Trader Joe's, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm on board with that because I don't like
That
Trader
is
Joe's either.
Absolutely, that you misheard.
Oh.
I don't like Trader Joe's, Adam.
Maybe you got the wrong
No,
person.
literally, look in my pre-show
You have
notes.
2 things there. Elena hates Trader Joe's. Will
I mean, the Will
haircut.
haircut. You know, I throw things in there that when I
don't.
At some point-
I literally don't
Okay.
recall
is
saying
like
this
the dead
because
file.
I
Okay.
shop there, not all the time, but there are definitely things I pick up from there.
Well, or is there another grocery chain that you don't like? Maybe a mistake. Maybe I imposed myself on there because I don't like Trader Joe's.
How do we feel about Lenardi's?
I don't know. What that,
Lenardi's?
That sounds too shishi for me.
Lenardi's is pretty, Lenardi's has a good meat counter, but the rest of it's kind of overpriced. If you want to go someplace right before Thanksgiving and not have
Called it.
1,000 people fighting for the last thing of stuffing, Lenardi's is a good choice because you're going to pay $12 for a bag of stuffing.
So I could just go to Buy Right instead.
Buy Right is a madhouse, though. Buy Right.
That's true.
Buy Right the day before Thanksgiving.
more like buy wrong. right?
Buy Right. During the pandemic, I'm not going to acknowledge that. I'm sorry. During the pandemic, one time
getting warmed up.
we bought some sides for Thanksgiving because I was like, I'm not making a bazillion sides for 3 people. And I went to Buy Right the day before Thanksgiving, and I thought I was going, I'm not an aggressive, angry person, but I thought I was
sure
going to
about that?
lose my freaking mind just from the sheer press of humanity in that place. Anyway.
That's fair. Also, for everyone in chat who's saying that they don't know any of these companies, it's because we're talking about local businesses.
Yeah, Bay Area.
Nobody
Yeah.
else
Yeah.
outside of the Bay, not even Bay Area, probably just the San Francisco and adjacent cities area know what we're talking about.
I think Lenardi's is kind of Northern California as a whole.
I don't even know what that is.
I've never heard of it
Yeah.
before. I only guessed based on who was saying it and how you said it with the context of what kind of
Belmont.
grocery store that is.
No, yeah, Belmont, Burlingame, Danville, Los Gatos, San Bruno, San Jose, Bascom, San Jose Meridian, and Walnut Heights.
It is a rich.
It's
a
super
rich
bougie.
I was
grocery
going to
store.
say-
It's bougie as hell.
Bougie neighborhood.
this is-
Bougie
So
now we know
you said
bougie people.
This is where this
Belmont.
guy goes.
Well, but the San
You didn't
Bruno one
say-
is in Pacifica. It's this is a grocery store of lies. Pacifica, not bougie. Pacifica is where the teachers and cops and
You're
firefighters
close to
live.
bougie, which you're easily accessible to.
Yeah,
it.
and bougie adjacent, I guess.
Man,
oh, that's
Will
funny.
showing his
Wow,
true
he
bougie
just outed
colors
himself.
here.
Now I know why it has a
Out
nice
of
meat counter. It's because it's the
himself.
fancy place.
Yeah, because you get all the farm to table meat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
The
none of
meat's
that.
been
None
tucked
of
in
that.
at night.
Yeah.
Wait. So then, what's your
Mike-
take on Trader Joe's? Why don't you like Trader Joe's?
You know why I don't like Trader Joe's?
Wait, you don't like Trader Joe's?
I hate Trader Joe's.
Oh, me too.
So
Okay, yeah.
look,
Yeah.
good job.
Perfect.
What's wrong
So
with
did
you
it.
guys?
I dislike Trader Joe's because when I lived in the city and Trader Joe's was easily accessible, the only one was that one on Masonic, that you have to park in the line that goes around the block to get in on Saturday because the parking lot isn't big enough for the grocery store. And it was never worth the hassle of going in there.
I know exactly where you went wrong. You took your I can't say that word on this podcast. You took your suburbanite tendencies and you tried to apply it to the heart of the city.
The Masonic is not the heart of the city. A. And B, it's just the
You just
time
called it the
investment.
Masonic, dude.
What?
You just called it the Masonic.
I didn't call it the Masonic. I said Masonic's not the heart of the city. But the point is, the amount of time investment required to go to that grocery store in San Francisco is not commensurate with the reward of going to that grocery store, which is like I get tasty vittles. And like their produce is terrible. Like I don't want Canadian produce ever.
Why not?
I want produce from places further south where it's good.
We have a lot of
not
Canadian
further
viewers
north.
here.
Look,
Right
I
now.
love Canada. I love Canada.
Wait, is that why their produce is so bad?
Yeah, because all of their stuff is imported from Canada.
Oh God.
Yeah, you're eating Canadian food.
Oh yeah, then I hate it even worse. Well,
I swear I've heard this conversation or read it in a Christopher Moore book at least once. This precise one.
Gosh. Okay.
I'm
there's
sorry, my
so many
Canadian
things.
friends.
There's so many things.
It's time to
with
start the
Will's
show, right?
Rant here that is just so raw.
Well, see,
Gosh.
I dislike all Trader Joe's equally. I think you have qualms with a specific Trader Joe's.
Now we have more Trader Joe's in San Francisco, and like I'll occasionally go into a Trader Joe's, but it's usually not worth the hassle of dealing with a Trader Joe's.
Well, number one, walking in, I just don't like the vibe. Everybody's wearing Hawaiian shirts and like it's just like it's supposed to be like tiki kind of
wow,
thing.
no, that's just racist.
Yeah,
That's where he draws the line.
No,
Wow.
it's
not the price,
That's where it starts. That's where it starts. I already
gonna sit over here.
I already come in and I'm just like I don't.
associate
I
with
want to.
this.
I'm trying to get groceries. I don't want to hang out at a luau. You know, like you don't have to
Wow,
make it.
Melly
So he hates
Clicky Mop
Hawaii?
at you.
No,
Hawaii.
no. It doesn't need to be overly themed. It's a grocery store. Like
It's not even.
It's like the lightest theming I've ever seen.
but compared to
hate tiki
Safeway, which is all the way on the other
I
end.
knew Safeway was coming in here at some point.
Yeah, we're never gonna
Thanks,
get that
Ryder.
Safeway sponsorship now.
No, I'm okay with Safeway because they know what they are. They're a supermarket. They're not trying to be
Those
something
are my exact
crazy.
feelings about Waffle House.
Wait, you don't like Waffle House?
No, I do like Waffle
Oh,
House.
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
its complete lack of pretension.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Trader Joe's is trying to be like something cool, whatever. Anyway, and then
Too big for
the
Adam.
first thing that you hit is the worst part of the store. It's the produce, and now I know it's Canadian produce is why it's so bad.
I don't know that the produce is actually Canadian. Like when I went to Canada,
Well, then why are you lying?
They had well, the other stuff comes from Canada. When I went to Canada, they had the biggest carrots I've ever seen. I was like in awe because you could get a carrot.
then
that
you
was-
ate it and it
was
tasted like
basically
crap.
it was the size of an eggplant. It was an enormous carrot.
That sounds weird.
I don't know how they get them so big up there. I think somebody told me they were imported from China because that's where Canada gets their produce
They're all
for
imported.
reasons that wasn't worth getting into. Anyway, I'm with
still
Kreider on Waffle House.
I'm still stuck on this fact that you were talking smack about the Masonic and Gary location where one, there is a gigantic
Really-
there is a gigantic shopping center right on the other half of it where you could have parked your car. And if you were worried about getting towed there, which no one really has to worry about, there's so much street parking around there if you know where to look.
Look.
And if you're willing, and instead of staying in a line of cars trying to get into that parking lot, you could have, and this is how I also know that you're not from the city, you could have
Wow.
parked 3 blocks down.
Wow.
You could have parked 3 blocks
Just pull
down,
up that ladder,
walked to the
Elena.
store, finished your business, and been done
Let me-
before you even got into that parking lot.
He needs a red carpet, okay? He literally
Trader-
needs to roll up and somebody,
Suburbanites, man.
Trader Joe's. This is when I lived in the city. I lived in the city for 15 years almost.
Oh.
Okay, you lived in the
that's
city,
called a-
but did you actually take in the spirit of the city? 'Cause
Yes,
I'm not hearing
I
this.
walked everywhere. I take a car to go grocery shopping because I like to go grocery shopping. I don't go grocery shopping every day. I don't have time for that. I
Yeah, you send your
especially-
maid to
yeah,
do that.
I send my person, my man. When you go to Trader Joe's, because it's a dry goods store, because of the aforementioned produce and meat problems that the brand has as a whole, I go to get packaged goods that will be shelf stable for a long time. So I do a big haul. I'm not carrying 12 bags of groceries a quarter of a mile across the two of the busiest streets in San Francisco through what I like to think of as a death intersection through another shopping center to a parking lot that's up a really steep hill. I'm going to park in the parking lot at the grocery store.
Yeah, that's a suburbanite take, dude.
Also,
It's not a corner market.
Also, you have a family.
Yeah.
You pack mule the whole family. You're not the one carrying all the
my
12.
wife and my daughter are on my back this whole time.
No, you make them carry.
I just want you to know, and I just want to establish my what's it called, bona fides here, because I grew up shopping in Chinatown, which is one of the hilliest parts of San Francisco.
Well, that's a different
and my
thing.
dad, my dad would be shopping for our entire family and hauling these grocery bags up and down these hills. Not bothering to stop at the car. He's like, no, it's fine. I got it. And I'm like in the background just schlepping stuff with him.
Yeah.
So when I tell you this is not a city person style of shopping, this is my marker.
When I lived 2 blocks from Andronico's in the Sunset, 3 blocks up the hill from Andronico's in the Sunset, just to be clear, a hill with stairs, I walked down to the grocery store and carried my groceries up, as our forefathers did back in the Conestoga wagon days when we were coming across the mountains through the country.
But then you bought a house in
But then
suburbia.
this is like. Anyway, I don't want to get into it. I'm tired of being besmirched
I don't want to get into
by
it.
Elena's
10 minutes later.
exclusionary.
I mean, see, here I thought we were on the same page of hating Trader Joe's, but really you just
I like
hate
Hawaiian shirts.
You
You
just
just
hate
hate Canada.
I'm pro-
Canadians.
You hate You hate Canada because people are
You hate
saying
Canada, apparently.
Yeah, no, I love
lying
Canada. I love Canada. Canada is my favorite North American country right now, far and away.
Wow, you hate Mexico too then?
Mexico's
Jeez,
great,
wow.
but
Yeah,
it's like
Mexico.
too hot. I don't like being hot.
Anyway, we gotta start this podcast.
Yeah, should we?
You know, the Trader Joe's cast going off the rails already. If you're wondering why I have a third laptop here on the table, is because I'm currently installing Linux distribution, and I will need some help from Will every once in a while. This EFI partition, is that okay? The top one. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about some cool stuff.
Yeah, it's fine. Let it rip.
And I had initially mentioned in Discord that Brad was going to join us because last week he was on vacation, and then he woke up this morning and he said, "Oh, I got the black lung pop," and he was sick and he couldn't come in. So, just kidding. Throw him back under the bus.
The black lung. That's pretty specific.
I don't know. Yeah.
He just said he wasn't feeling
He just said he wasn't feeling well, which I assumed was the black lung. So speedy recovery, Brad. But we called Mike. I said, Mike, you need to come in because you got a cool keyboard in your background, and none of us can say that.
It is a cool keyboard.
The wood.
Yeah, that's my
It looks
next
like wood.
generation keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Nice. All right.
That's the really cool one.
Mike, I like the Nintendo cartridge in the back. Behind
Oh, thank you. I've got 3 of them. I've got it's Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal.
Nice.
is your wall really, really close, or is that
No,
an
it's like
oversized
10 feet
cart?
back there.
Okay. Okay.
It's an oversized card.
Okay. I was just making sure.
There's these
that there
guys on
wasn't-
Etsy that 3D printed out, and then they got a big sticker. It
Oh,
looks
that's
pretty
very
awesome.
good. That's rad.
But if you're an OG player, you know that Pokemon Crystal was not on the Game Boy. It was on the Game Boy Color. It came with a different style of cartridge that was translucent plastic. But that's really hard to do in the big oversized thing. And I wanted the triple.
Duh. Will.
I'm too old
God,
for Pokemon.
man.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, Willis, how are the hamsters?
Hamsters are running. Everyone's in the house right now.
I can't believe you don't like Hawaiian shirts.
I don't
I'm
like
just
Hawaiian shirts.
like, wow. So I would expect.
How did you?
I had you pegged for a Hawaiian shirt guy. Honestly, like you have the look.
How
You're
did
just
you?
trying to hurt him.
How did you get along with Gordon?
Yeah.
I mean, Gordon, he only wore Hawaiian shirts when he was dressing up. That was his.
Yeah, that was his classy look.
But he rarely wore Hawaiian shirts. I've hung around a lot of his family as of late, and a lot of them wear Hawaiian shirts. But I like them. They're good people. So
I went to Hawaii one time and brought Gordon. Well, anyway.
anyway. Oh, look, plasma. Do I want to use plasma?
Yeah, you want plasma.
Oh, okay.
Take the defaults through here.
Take the defaults. Yeah, all of them. Okay, cool. Anyway, let's start.
Yeah.
Let's start the show here. What are we talking about? Yep.
Yeah, what do we got?
I don't look. It's
Okay.
impossible to say at this point.
Here we go. Here we go. Ready?
Do it.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, we talk about the latest CPU market share. Overlaid.
Nailed it.
Big breath in.
I was like, can I have a little breath in between? Will that, save me as my brain is trying to spin? All right, here we go. We got it. Pet 123456 is my password. All right, sweet. Here we go.
Everybody knows Adam's Linux password
Yeah.
now.
You're distracting me.
I'm not distracting
Yeah,
you.
you are.
You're distracting
I'm trying to do the intro here.
You're doing great.
Install.
You're
All right,
owning.
cool. Install now. Go back. All right, cool. Here we go. In this episode of The Full Nerd, we talk about the current CPU market share numbers. Overlay addiction. That's okay. Here we go. Third time's the charm. In this episode of The Full Nerd, we talk about the latest CPU market share numbers, overlay addiction, and GeForce Now updates. There we go. Got it.
Nailed it.
And welcome, everyone, to episode 361 of the Full Nerd Podcast, which is a part of the Full Nerd Network, which only consists of one podcast as of right now, but we've got more. It is the flagship.
Yeah, it's the flagship.
And here, we specifically talk about the latest news and information around DIY PC building. I am your host. I'm your fill-in host, Adam Patrick Murray. I'm not alone, though. My co-host, Brad Charkis, was supposed to be here, but he wasn't. He decided to get sick, so I called in a ringer. Here on the line is one Michael Kreider from PCWorld.com.
Howdy, howdy. Nice to be here.
Not only that, you are the face of our vertical video content.
Oh, yes. I'm told I'm big on TikTok. I don't know. I don't actually use TikTok, but I'm told it does pretty well. So, yay.
Like, listen, I can imagine. I know I got to do the rest of the intros, but I gotta talk up Mike for a little bit here because we tasked you with the impossible task is to say, hey, we need more vertical videos about news that's hitting PCWorld.com. And Mike took it on. Not only took it on, he did it with gusto, and he's been killing it. And I know you're thinking, oh, come on, vertical video, nobody likes that. Everybody thinks it's crap. I don't use TikTok, or it's junk. I dare you to go watch some of Mike's videos because you bring a level of snark. Just a little hint, a little flavor of snark to the information, and you cover stuff that is covered on the website. So it's all pertinent stuff that you would like, but I feel like brought to you with that special Mike Kreider snark sauce that nobody else can provide. How do you do
thank
it?
you.
How do you do it?
Well, I mean, we have a little bit of snark on the website as well. Just a soupçon of snark allowed in our text graciously by our editors.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it also complements the person who writes the weekly Full Nerd newsletter, and that is one Elena Yee, also on the line. Hello, Elena.
That's me.
Yeah. No, between like I don't know if I would call your writing snark. I can't quite find the right word.
I think she's very earnest, actually.
Yeah, but she knows how to get pointed.
Somewhat disappointed.
Pointed or disappointed, sure.
Yeah.
About things, but I don't know. Maybe because I've been around you guys so much, when I read something, I can tell that it's you or it's Mike or something like that, and I really appreciate it. You put your flavor on there in the newsletter, and once again, I feel like our personalities are coming out through these different mediums in fun ways. How do you do it, Elena?
I wake up every morning and I still keep breathing, which I'm pretty grateful about.
Sweet. Perfect. Exactly. That's the kind of information you can get from the Full Nerd newsletter. Go over to PCWorld.com/
wit. Yeah.
PCWorld.com/newsletters with an S /sign up, and you can sign up for the hottest newsletter in your Friday mailbox. Here, as part of the Content Town, a separate network, not
somebody else's
managed
network.
by us. Yeah, is Will Smith at the table. Hello, Will.
Boy. I invented content networks about
That's great.
10 years ago.
That's great.
And I'm glad to be here. I like to think of Michael as Mr. Vertical these days. He's Mr. Vertical in my head now.
Nope.
No.
All
I'll
right.
put that on my business card.
Yeah.
Nope. And controlling verticals, horizontals, the actual verticals and horizontals over here is one Willis Lai. Hello, Willis.
Hello, everyone. Good to be here.
You're back.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Had God parental duties. I don't know how parents do it. Had to do drop off to for my goddaughter, picking her up, dropping off to the preschool, and then picking her up back before rush hour and all that. How do you do it, parents? How do you do it?
Look, Willis, helping folks who don't have family members around deal with parental responsibilities is that's good work.
Yeah.
Good job.
It takes a village.
Yeah,
takes a
it
village.
really does.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it takes a village to run this Full Nerd Network, and I call it a Full Nerd Network. If you didn't tune into I think we talked about it last week's episode. So
Sure.
we've changed the YouTube channel to be called the Full Nerd Network. This is still the Full Nerd Podcast as a part of the Full Nerd Network, but we are on the precipice of launching other things on the network as well. We have Will and I's Linux podcast about hardcore. Okay, you don't like the word hardcore, but die hard. I call myself a die-hard Windows person, trying out Linux and dual booting on a machine. Somebody asked in the chat earlier, and yes, I have the System 76 laptop right in front of me, which I have dual booted with Windows 11, and then I also have this Strix Halo-based HP ZBook Ultra G1A something else, and I am currently, as we're recording this, installing CachyOS on here with the help of one Will Smith. So
You are.
We are just about to launch that podcast, hopefully by the end of this week, and we'll get to announce it in the newsletter. And then the other thing we're launching too. And then there's a fourth thing. There's a fourth secret thing that I'm also planning. So when I say network, it really is going to be a network of nerds talking about nerdy stuff. So stay tuned. I'm excited. Fun stuff coming. But on this episode, we are talking about the latest in PC hardware news. It's the summer. It's still a slump. There's not a ton to talk about, but we do have some actual news because next week is I think it's next week is Gamescom.
People
right?
are traveling to
this
Gamescom
week.
right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's this week.
It's this weekend.
Yes.
Okay, we obviously are not going. That's not where Brad is. He literally is sick. So yeah, one of the pertinent pieces of information coming out of Gamescom. This just in. Beep 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 beep. It's fresh from Gamescom in Cologne, Germany. Nvidia has announced some GeForce Now updates. And initially, when we talked about this topic,
GeForce when?
now, right
Now? Right now?
Now is the time of GeForce.
I'll be here all week.
Yeah, good, perfect. When we talked about this topic, as we were planning the episode to yesterday,
When?
now.
Now?
Actually, it was yesterday. Brad
sorry.
made the joke that he was going to bring his shot glass. Every time we talk about GeForce Now, he takes a
boy.
shot. Maybe he started too
That's
early.
what happened.
Maybe that's why.
where he is. Yeah.
So
Alcohol poisoning.
Brad Charkis, the resident GeForce Now lover. So I was going to lean on him to go over the information, but Mike, are you following the information?
Very loosely. I'm not as much of an expert on it as Brad is, but I am a big fan of GeForce Now just as a concept and as a cheap way to get into lots of games that you already own. So I was excited to see. I think this upgrade has been a little overdue, but I guess they did have to sell tons and tons of graphics cards before they could bump everything up. That's the big news.
Yeah, so let's go over the high level, Mike. Can you remind
the biggest
people?
news? Well, it depends on what you're looking for. The big headline is that the GeForce Now servers are being upgraded to 50 series cards, 5080 on the highest tier. I don't know exactly if they're going to change the rest of those. They probably got plenty of hardware sitting around for the freebie users. So that's very cool. You get the most of the newest, coolest tricks while you're streaming your games, which for somebody who's on, at this point, mostly 5-year-old hardware, I might pop in and take a look and see how it looks to be one of the rich people now. I can do it for $20 a month.
There you go. We do have, if you want to follow along, we do have an article on PCWorld.com written by one Mark Hockman. It is linked in the description, goes over the high-level details here. Yeah, the 50 series thing, I actually feel like they announced that it was coming, like at CES maybe. They were like, oh, by the way, 50 series is coming, so...
I mean, it's just kind of assumed at this point that they're going to move to
That makes
newer,
sense.
But yeah.
Yeah, and hey, you get the multi-frame gen and stuff like that. They did have a chart in there with like performance upgrades from the 4080 to the 5080, and it was all based off of the multi-frame gen, ×4 stuff. So it was like, okay, well, I am curious. I mean, as somebody who has used GeForce Now a lot, and also I've used multi-frame gen a lot, I'm curious to see how those two things mix together. Will, have you messed around with GeForce Now much?
Yeah, so I used it a bunch when they rolled out the dedicated Steam Deck client, and or I guess it's a dedicated Linux client that's kind of optimized for the Steam Deck, and was a little bummed that it didn't support greater than 60 hertz refresh rates, even on handhelds that support greater than 60 hertz refresh rates.
Well, now it does.
Hey, what an amazing coincidence!
Hey, yeah. So for the Steam Deck specifically, that client now supports up to 90 because that's what the Steam Deck does, or at least the OLED version. And then the the Lenovo Legion Go S SteamOS version can go up to 120, which is nice because I have it installed on both. And yeah, it's a little confusing because there is a way to actually have the game run. There's kind of multiple settings. You could actually have it run at a higher, but this just makes it easy out of the box. So that's an exciting little upgrade.
They also have, it seems like they've done some work to unify clients on different platforms. So the Windows and Mac clients are now synced up in terms of support and updates and stuff like that, which is I hope that that'll eventually come to the Linux client as well, so that we see day and date updates to Windows, Mac, Linux all at the same time, which matters more for handhelds than anything else, I think.
Yeah. Elena, I remind me, have you messed around with GeForce Now too much?
Not a lot. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact that I don't particularly trust, or like at the time, I didn't really particularly trust my internet connection to really come through for me on that. I was reading a couple of different takes on this before the show. And it's kind of interesting to see how many people are leaning into this idea of like high performance and like all the goodies that you get with it, which I totally get. But there was one particularly, shall we say, bombastic take on it that felt a little bit like it was super hyping it. And I think it was like they were calling it like a console killer in the making. And I was just like, I don't know. I think it has a lot to do with where I come from, a background with covering consoles and console games. But I was like, man, there's a lot of people in the U.S. who don't have great internet connections. Like even here in San Francisco, there are neighborhoods where the most you can get is 50 megabits per second.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know. I'm sorry. You have to hear that because you get 10 gigabits per second, you lucky son of a gun. Yeah.
But he doesn't have to walk to the grocery store, so he has that going for him.
Actually, I do walk.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's literally 2 blocks
That's
away.
the balance, Will, actually. He has to walk to the
He has
grocery
to walk to the
store,
grocery
but he
store.
has
Okay.
his
I would
super
take that.
fast download.
I would take that.
So he gets his exercise and he gets his super fast,
I get to touch
downloads.
concrete. There's not much grass between me and the grocery store. But
So, it's like one of those things where I read it and I'm like, okay, like who is this for? And in some ways it feels a little bit more like the rich are getting richer kind of thing, where it's like if you have the ability to really make use of it, then it is getting a lot better. But I kind of wonder if it's just creating this bigger divide between the people that this is an option for versus that it's not really as viable.
Well, so the last
That's the whole subscription thing too, right?
yeah, I mean there is a free option. So yeah, the pricing hasn't changed. There is a free option that you can use. There's ads. You obviously you have limits on how long your gaming session can be. There's, queues in peak hours, whatever. Then there's the performance one, which is $10 a month. No ads, yada, yada. You get a higher resolution, things like that, and priority access to the queue. And then the ultimate version, which was 4080, and now it's going up to a 5080, that you can get up to 4K, up to 240 hertz, first priority in the queue, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, but yeah, I think you're right. There's a point to say that GeForce Now is great when you have the stars align, right? I'm lucky. I've got good internet. There's actually one of the GeForce Now servers in South Bay, so we're very close to that. So we're kind of in the best case scenario where you are here, but it doesn't really change if somebody's wanting to use this, which in the middle of nowhere or wherever, but they might not have good infrastructure and might be far from a data center. I've never experienced that. I would be curious to try that out to see what the experience looks like. But in that case,
I can speak to that a little, actually.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, please.
So over Christmas, I went to see my folks in Texas, and I forgot my laptop. So I walked into Best Buy and got one of those little USB monitors, plugged it into my fancy phone, and played my Fortnite dailies over the 4G LTE / 5G, depending on how it was feeling that day, connection.
Wow.
With a mouse and keyboard. Using GeForce Now. And I'm not going to tell you it was a perfect experience. I wouldn't do it if I was really trying to compete. But just for killing some time, for getting stuff out, even in a fairly connection-dependent game like Fortnite that's going through 2 different layers of connection, I was able to get some pretty decent games in. So
That's wild.
I was shocked.
Over an internet or a cellular connection. Okay.
I will say, so I was going to say, we have some travel coming up. I think we should test this out while we're gone.
True.
'Cause I think that would be interesting.
Yeah.
But when I was sick and had COVID and was isolated in my bedroom for 9 days or whatever it was, I played a fair amount of Fortnite on a Linux laptop using GeForce Now, and I found that the experience was much better on wired than wireless. Honestly, it was my Wi-Fi that was the problem, not the actual connection. And that's, again, being here in the Bay Area, we have good servers and I have decent gigabit fiber. It's not 10 gigabit fiber, but it's still okay. I'll keep it.
Yeah, there's always going to be a weak link, right? Because I'm in a crowded apartment complex. Like, yeah, it is hard to get a good stable Wi-Fi signal, which is one of the reasons why I upgraded early to Wi-Fi 7, because there's not too many people in the complex on that. So yeah, the stars need to align for it to make sense in some ways. And I feel like they're not getting out in front and talking about those things. They are upgrading the capabilities of it, but yeah, I'm curious to that kind of stuff. I think the bigger one, we're kind of bearing the lead, which I think, there's a couple other small tweaks, whatever. But really, I think the big new one is they're calling, I guess, is install to play.
I think this is the thing I was most excited about.
Which is kind of a weird way to describe it. I was like, wait, I don't understand what that means. But the GeForce Now, right now, has to work with specific games. There's a library that you log into. You have to own the game, but then you also have to sign into your service. So if you're like, okay, well, I have I don't know, Cyberpunk on Steam, then you would click on the Cyberpunk thing, you would log in with your Steam account. I think it also supports a couple other platforms as well, Epic and maybe GOG, I can't remember.
It supports almost everything at this point,
so you have to sign in, you have to own it. It's not like this $20 subscription gives you access to all these games.
You're renting a PC, not the games.
Yeah, exactly. So you already have to have it. And that is one of the other downsides, is that if there are certain games that I wish I could play, and then I try to load up GeForce Now, and I'm like, oh crap, this game is not part of the subscription. That's kind of a bummer. But this new install to play thing, tell the fine folks what this is.
Yeah, so if you haven't used GeForce Now, you might not know this, but it spins up a virtual slice of a data center machine someplace and gives you your own kind of Steam installer, Epic installer. It's not Windows. I think it's running in an emulated thing. But you basically, and then it downloads your saves from the cloud. And it downloads the game and installs the game real quick. And then you have to kind of queue up to get another server that has access to this virtual machine. And that's so that sometimes there can be, like, if on high load times, there can be two queues. I think now it's on two of the paid tiers. You get access to a couple 100 gigs of storage, where it kind of caches the most recently used virtual machine that you've played, or a couple of most recently used virtual machines. So you don't have to go through that setup process every time you stop and start a game,
which usually doesn't take too long.
It's usually like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. But this is like for people who, for example, when I was laying in bed playing Avowed on GeForce Now on a Steam Deck, every time I would put the Steam Deck to sleep, it would disconnect from GeForce Now and have to go through this process again. And like it wasn't a great experience for the handheld. For a handheld modality where I'm used to just hitting the power button and setting it down when I need to take a break or go do something else. And this is a good change for those types of users, especially, I think.
And on top of that, because of this kind of scenario where they're able to install it locally, and I even don't fully understand. I wasn't able to sit on the briefing, but essentially you're able to download games that are not already part of the GeForce Now streaming library. So right now there's about like over 2,000 games in the library, and then this upgrade allows for over 2,000 more.
Wait, really? You can install games that don't have the GeForce Now check mark on Steam?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that's
people are going to be upset about that.
Well, but I don't. They're getting around it in some way, because it's not like they're saying, "Hey, whole hog, you have access to your entire Steam library now." Somehow, there's still some sort of check mark that the developer needs to play into it. I'm not quite sure the details there.
So on the back end in Steam right now, there's literally one check mark when you're setting up your game that says, "Hey, do you want to make this available on cloud streaming services like GeForce Now and other services that presumably don't exist because it's only GeForce Now?" And you check that box and it says yes. And then the next time NVIDIA scrapes your game's data from Steam, it just shows up. Yeah.
So
I'm not sure if this answers your question, Adam, but Sean Hollister, who we've had on the show before.
Oh, hey.
does great reporting.
Yeah.
In his article, he mentions, I have it up right here, that it says that it's the games that have opted into, as Will just mentioned, to Valve's Steam Cloud Play. So they have to have opted into this program for it to become available.
Okay, so that
Even though it's not officially supported by GeForce Now.
Yeah, because I think GeForce Now does, like they have to add it to their front end, right? It's like it has to be a game on the front end of GeForce Now to be able to select and all that kind of stuff. So maybe that's the step, is like, we didn't go through all the work to get it as part of the front end, but it is available to stream. So you're able to install in the back end. I have not used this yet. I actually don't know when this rolls out, but I'm curious to see, like, is there a way to know if that game is available yet? You know, it can get a little confusing, I can assume, to be like, okay, well, is this game part of GeForce Now? Is this part of the install to play? It's a little.
I'm going to look right now.
Does that matter significantly though? Because I like I said, I haven't really touched the service much outside of like the initial launch. Like, are there driver things or like compatibility things that they have done for the ones that are officially supported versus what you would be trying to run through, you know, outside of that? Because that's the part I'm fuzzy on.
So,
like, what is the quality of difference that a user can really expect?
So typically there's not compatibility work that the developers have to do on the back end unless you're using specific anti-cheat or something like that. So you might have to make a build. For example, since those machines are controlled by NVIDIA and you know that they're clean machines and they're not going to be able to run like low-level anti-cheats on them, you can probably opt those out of anti-cheat if you have a way to do that in such a way that other people then can't spoof GeForce Now instances to have fun anti-cheat. Like, there's a whole so the decision tree often is, how many people are going to use this? Is this going to be a huge pain in the butt to set up? And if yes, then they're probably going to not bother because it's a relatively low number of installers. Like I said, the other reason people don't do this is because they have exclusive cloud streaming arrangements with other partners, typically in other regions. So, for example, I think PUBG was a longtime holdout on GeForce Now, either because of the anti-cheat or because they had a Southeast Asia specific streaming arrangement that was exclusive and prevented them from showing up on platforms like Game Pass or cloud streaming or GeForce Now. So like there may be like legal agreement requirements that have you that you don't, like, even if you are technically able to participate in this, you may not want to. And it's possible that by adding storage, then this shows up as just a virtual machine in the cloud, like Shadow PC or one of those services that is essentially the same thing, but instead of being like a weird slice of a virtual computer, it's an actual like VM that you just log into remotely.
Yeah. So
Will.
Hi.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, just kind of building off of your game dev knowledge, we have a question from Agent Birdnest in chat asking, do devs have a good reason not to opt into GeForce Now?
Yeah, I mean, it's often business stuff. So it's either anti-cheat and the amount of time you'd have to spend building a secure way to get anti-cheat that maybe doesn't want to run on Linux. Although at this point, all of the major anti-cheat vendors are doing Linux versions, or I don't know enough about the back end of GeForce Now. I have never worked on a game that does anti-cheat on a GeForce Now client. Like the way the games that I've worked on that have had anti-cheat use like Steam level anti-cheat just because they don't want people to be able to hack data streams or whatever. So that stuff is handled automatically if you use like Easy Anti-Cheat or one of the, like Battlefield 6, for example, didn't support GeForce Now in the betas that ran over the last couple of weeks. Presumably, they've said that they're planning on supporting GeForce Now for launch, but they didn't want to spend the time to get the betas up with their kind of intense anti-cheat that they're running on that game. So
which kind of makes sense.
Usually it's hey, I don't want to spend the money to either validate this, make it work right, or build a Linux version. Although these days, the Linux version is less of an issue because of the way we run. Here's the thing about GeForce Now I don't know. Sorry, I'm rambling. I don't know if it's actually running a Windows slice or a Linux slice or something weird that NVIDIA came up with. So the way it works for most games is so transparent that you literally just flip that checkbox in Steam and then it shows up in GeForce Now and you don't have to do anything else. I think you have to sign an agreement with NVIDIA, but you may not even have to do that. I'm not it's
Yeah.
been so long since I set one of those up that it generally just kind of works.
So, and Steven has a good question. What is the latency like on GeForce Now? Once again, it depends the whole round trip, right? Like there's the latency of the actual GeForce Now servers, which they have touted is, they've continued to work on the round trip stuff. Like things like reflex, can help with that. But it really depends on your side of it too. What's your internet connection? What is your connection? What is your setup like at home? All of that kind of stuff. So like, there's no, like, Nvidia comes out and says the latency numbers for their side, but there's no way to say, hey, this is the latency on GeForce Now, because like everybody's experience is going to be kind of a little different. Like once again, I have had good situations of, like, the way I use it is on my handheld. Like that is definitely like the way I use GeForce Now. But yeah, there's plenty of other use
for
cases.
games that are bigger than run well on
the Steam Deck.
On the Steam Deck,
So it's like, rather than playing, I know they've the developer behind Cyberpunk has done a lot of cool work to get Cyberpunk, having a Steam Deck version, optimized for that. But I would much rather play it in the cloud, with all the bells and whistles, and then just stream to the Steam Deck. So yeah,
I'm looking for the GeForce Now setting in the Steam backend on a game that I've been working on. It's so hard to find. I don't actually know where it lives these days. And they may have moved it entirely because of this new change.
Yeah. So anyway, update to that. I do think, hey, it's a free service. Try it out. I would love to hear more people tell us like what the experience is like, because it's so anecdotal. It's different than us getting a GPU in and running it on a benchmark, and then you can at least get a relative look at how things perform. GeForce Now is so anecdotal. Like I feel like I don't have enough data points to point to. But
I will say that when I was reading the news about this, even though I'm still very much I like to have things local kind of person. Like I'm the kind of person that will run just Cat 5 or Cat 7 cable now through my house, because I just really don't like dealing with the Faraday cages that I've lived in, apparently, when it comes to Wi-Fi and stable connections. But I will say one of the things that I found really appealing about this, especially because there's that free tier available, is that this is a really nice way to kind of get a sense of, like, one, would you like having a service like this? But two, if you're willing to pay, I forgot if they do month-to-month subscriptions anymore. But if you're like interested in buying a higher end card, or you want to try out some of like the software features that they've been touting, like instead of making that investment in the actual hardware and kind of biting that bullet, you can sort of get a sense for if you're going to use that, if you like the effect of it, if that way of approaching the bells and whistles is for you. And that's a lot cheaper than investing in just saying like, okay, I'm just going to go for like a 5080 card. I've been anticipating this, and then getting the card and being like, oh, you know what? Like this didn't quite pan out the way I thought.
yeah.
So I found it. There's a box that says Cloud Play that says enable your game to run streamed from the cloud, hosted by Valve and the following service providers. And Nvidia GeForce Now is the only provider listed.
Could you check that top check, but not the GeForce Now?
No, once you uncheck the top check.
Well, no, I mean, uncheck
you
GeForce
could,
Now.
but it wouldn't do anything.
But except for the Cloud Play one, you would assume is referencing Steam.
No, because that's a whole separate setting. There's no Steam Cloud Play. I think theoretically they like this is for a theoretical future service that they don't actually provide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to physical hardware. We have new reports of CPU market share that have come out. Once again, I have a link in the description to an article written, once again, by the fabulous Mark Hochman, kind of detailing some of this breakdown. So there was a new report by, and I always bungle this name, the analyst. Why can I not find it? There's the Mercury one. I think that's the new one. But anyway, TLDR, AMD's the headline of Mark's article is AMD's X360. X3D chips continues to dominate desktop PCs. Surprise, surprise. Obviously, if you're really playing into this space, that's like a big deal. and a lot of people are picking up these X3D parts. And there is a chart there that actually shows the overall CPU market share. They slice it out in a couple different ways, but the thing that we're looking for is a desktop PC, right? So there's Intel and AMD. There is of 2025 quarter one and quarter two, but then also quarter two of 2024. So right now, Q2 2025, Intel has 67% of the market share, where AMD has 32% of the market share. And really the big difference there is that is a 9 percentage point increase year over year for AMD, meaning it is a 9% decrease for Intel year over year. Does this surprise us?
No.
That AMD has gained 9% of the desktop CPU market
PC
share in the
sales?
past year, according to Mercury Research.
No. They released a really good product, and Intel released an extremely meh product. So people bought the really good product instead of the extremely meh product.
Yeah. Elena, does this surprise you?
Surprise? No, but I will say I am interested to know the reason why that the percentage here is being listed as 32%. And in the recent Steam hardware survey, we saw them cross the line over to 40%. So I'm wondering what's getting counted perhaps in the Steam hardware survey, or, who's opting in for that survey versus, what this is measuring. Mm-hmm. Either way, I think that just seeing the gains is as much a factor of AMD having done, tremendous work in providing products that people are interested in, but also Intel basically losing a little bit of ground on the fact that they had so much mind share. Because I was actually talking to a friend who I gave some PC parts to so he could build a secondary living room PC for himself, and he'd never used AMD parts before. Mm-hmm. And he was a little confused by a BIOS, I guess, UEFI startup error that he encountered. And he said to me, he's like, I just never have these problems with Intel. Like, that's why I've never really done AMD before, because I had heard that they always have these issues. And I was like, the fact that that's still lingering as perception, but Intel is losing market share, I think says a lot about, we talked about this kind of last week, right? Where Intel is at right now. With things.
And we talked about it when we went down to the Micro Center opening too. Yeah, we talked to a lot of people in the line, and a lot of them were either currently on Intel, but they had built this, within the past 2-3 years, whatever. But we're saying, hey, you know what? Actually, I understand AMD is better now. Like there was a lot of sentiment around that. So I think a lot of these numbers, these are not sales numbers either. So this is also like, hey,
this is market share.
This is market share. So this is what people currently have. So there could be a percentage of these people who are on Intel that, would switch over the next time they upgrade their CPU, which, to be fair, most normal people don't upgrade as often as us hardcore people do. So I think if they got in on 12th gen or something, 12th gen is just this new platform for Intel, they're probably not ready to upgrade their CPU yet.
I think, well, first off, you to see changes in installed market share of hundreds of millions to, an enormous number of computers over this short a time period, the sales swing has probably been very dramatic, and we just don't have good sales numbers, right? It's not something that's reported really for this space.
Yeah, you get little blinks by, certain people publishing those kind of numbers, but,
And, actually, now that I'm thinking about it some more, I don't know why it didn't come to me earlier, but I also think, I wonder if this is because this is just market share for desktop PC, period, whereas Steam is specifically looking more at the gaming segment. A lot of AMD's chips right now are very more focused on kind of that mid to higher end range, and a lot more focused on gamers, because I think that's really where a lot of their mind share is. They don't have a lot of good low power, or more budget options. I feel low end. And I think that if we're talking about overall desktop share, Intel is still serving that. So probably we're not distinguishing between, consumer or business in terms of like corporations, sending out, deploying a bunch of machines across, people who don't need a lot of performance power. So maybe that's, honestly, where some of that's coming from. I don't know. I didn't think this earlier.
Well, and pre-built versus DIY. Like, I feel like the DIY shopper is probably a little bit more tuned in versus a pre-built,
And also, like, Mercury's reporting desktop numbers. Where Steam is looking at, like, there's a ton of laptops that have Steam installed, right? A ton of people buy gaming laptops. It's when you look at the graphics card breakdown on Steam, a lot of the 4080 laptop edition and a bunch of 1660, a bunch of laptop exclusive GPUs are in the top 10, top 20 GPUs across all of Steam. Now, it's like the top GPU on Steam right now in video card description has 0.4, 0.75 or something. It's a still relatively small percentages, but anyway.
I mean, either way, like, obviously different analysts come up with different numbers, and like this isn't like the all in all number out there. Mercury's has their own ways of calculating this data, and so that's why you try to look at a bunch of different sources. Steam Hardware Survey, Mercury, John Petty, does this kind of stuff too. So you start to get a little bit of a taste, and I think what happens is that a lot of times we're in this bubble of, anytime we build something new, we're usually just defaulting to a 9800 X3D or something like that.
Why would you not?
But there are a lot of people
It's the good one.
still buying Intel. A lot of people still using Intel. There's I think the sentiment would be like, oh no, everybody's on AMD. It's like, actually no. I mean, there still is a healthy number of people still using Intel.
I mean, there's definitely still people using Intel. If you bought a 13th or 14th, if you bought a Raptor, one of the bad Raptor Lake refresh chips that and yours didn't catch on fire and you did the BIOS updates and stuff like that, that CPU is good for years at this point still, right? Like your 13700K, 14700K is going to be good for a really long time, assuming it doesn't, die in a Valhalla journey to Valhalla blaze of glory, and there's no reason to upgrade that. At the same time, the thing that's happening on the CPU side, I think, for enthusiasts and people who actually pay attention to this, is that CPUs haven't had the escalation that GPUs have in the last 10 years. Where if you want the best CPU right now, you can probably afford, if you scrape your money together when you do your once every 10-year, 8-year CPU upgrade, to get a 9800 X3D right now. And why wouldn't you do that? Because you're going to put that thing in, you're going to put that long-lasting paste on, you're going to slap your cooler on there, and then you're going to leave it in there through 2 or 3 or 4 video cards, depending on how long you keep that machine. So,
yeah. So, I mean, either way, we talked about this a little bit last week with the whole Intel stuff. I mean, that's not looking good for Intel. They're trending the wrong direction. Mike, you haven't been on the show in a while. Like, what's your take on this whole Intel stuff going on?
Well, the thing that's interesting me just from a broader perspective, obviously we're supercomputer nerds. We keep an eye on all of this stuff. But if you don't care about computers and you're just like, okay, I haven't upgraded my laptop in 8 years and I need a new one, I can tell. Even that person who really doesn't care about the minutia of the parts inside their laptop, there's a pretty good chance that that person, when they go into Best Buy, has heard, hey, Intel's in trouble. The president is talking about the fact that Intel is in trouble. There is a growing awareness of this among people who normally just wouldn't care about it at all. I wonder how much of that might be affecting these broader market trends in ways that we will follow very carefully, but let's be honest, the majority of people just won't care about it.
I mean, good point. But if you also look at the mobile numbers, which are part of this, then the mobile numbers paint a completely different picture. AMD is only up 2% year over year. I'm sorry, 0.2% year over year in the mobile space, which, I mean, like I had that dinner recently with Sony and AMD they were talking about the partnership between Project Amethyst. But Jack Hune, part of AMD, has been very forthcoming saying, hey, we're trying to focus on the things that we want to focus on right now. And he's been very forthcoming that mobile has not, or laptop specifically, has not been one of them. So it's not a huge, I mean, maybe that's also them just saying, that, kind of reading the tea leaves or whatever. But in the laptop space, Intel is still like doing well. Like they're not ceding ground the way that they are on the desktop space. And the number right now is like just shy of 80% is Intel. So like that is still a pretty big number.
So I actually have a question for y'all. I'm interested in your thoughts on this because of this split, because it seems like, and we've talked about this on the show before, when Gordon was still here with us, that, Intel really has leaned into their laptop business because they have such dominance there. They haven't really, I think they were okay with ceding ground on the desktop side because they didn't necessarily probably find that as profitable as, all the laptop business they were doing. Because if you think about what gets deployed at businesses these days, most of the time it is a laptop.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm wondering, as desktop market share changes, as AMD grows, some of the advantages we've talked about Intel having, like was a quick sync, other driver support for like specific programs that people are using to do production work. Do you think that could start to shift as well, so that, we do see more built-in support in, let's say, like Adobe software or other things, where that advantage that Intel had will disappear? Or do you think that there's still enough people doing production work on laptops that it wouldn't necessarily motivate these companies to change how they've approached, their hardware support?
I mean, Adobe, like, I have no idea. Like, they continue to confuse me daily.
I don't know that Adobe moves markets anymore in a broad sense.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
I mean, but either way, Intel still traditionally has had the engineering resources to work with people like Adobe, to get that special sauce kind of thing in there. And we've always, ever since AM5 had an integrated GPU, is definitely like, oh, sweet. Can you take advantage of things, like quick sync or things like that? And recently, I guess it wasn't recently, it was before Computex, I did some testing of like the best CPU for Premiere Pro. I just kind of wanted to see what the newest offerings kind of show, and really it's actually pretty even, all things considered. Where you would break down is depending on the specific codec you used. So some codecs prefer AMD, some prefer Intel. So like I don't even think it's the case anymore where it's just like, hey, Intel has an inherent advantage in some aspects. Like I feel like it now it's becoming, you're getting into that minutia of like, okay, rather than just saying, hey, you know what, Adobe performs just, Intel performs best on Adobe, hands down. Now it's more like, well, it depends on what you do. It gets a little more nuanced. So
honestly, I think the thing that people, like, if you're talking about fleet computers that people are buying and doing huge deployments of, they're looking at things like, hey, what's the battery life? Because I think that's probably the thing that people complain about, right? It's not who cares about performance if you're sitting in a web browser running your Salesforce integration all day. You care about the battery conking out when you're on the end of a 12-hour flight.
Also things like vPro. I know a lot of those professional IT administration kind of things. Like vPro is still a name that they trust. So, but it is once again hard to gauge that temperature when we're such in DIY desktop gaming
it's
land.
Not what we cover.
Yeah, for the most part. So, yeah.
It's not. But I was just wondering. Sorry, I was just going to say real quick. It's not what we cover, but I was curious your take on it, because I wonder if that would also hasten these market share shifts that we're seeing, or potentially slow it.
So in the past, it's always lagged. Right. Like we didn't see when AMD had a performance advantage pre-Pentium 4 during the Pentium 4 era 20 years ago, we didn't see a huge uptick of AMD installations on corporate stuff. And part of it is because there was a much bigger gap in, like, it was a much more monopolistic Intel at the time. Right. And the Wintel majority was in full effect back then still. So like Dell didn't sell AMD processors at that time, and Dell was shipping a significant double-digit portion of all computers sold in the United States. So I think to me, like, I think there's always a lag. It's like in the old days in the car world, when Chevrolet was dominating in NASCAR, did that increase sales of regular cars that people were buying? Did they sell more Chevrolet trucks for the next 10 years? No, not really, right? It didn't impact. And I think we're in the same boat. The desktop DIY stuff is the is the high end. It's not like McLarens or Ford race cars. It's like Corvettes, right? And we're not selling. Like, does the Corvette being really good this year mean that they're going to sell more pickup trucks? Probably not. I think it's the same boat. I think when we talked to Wendell about this and data center side, did Intel blowing up a bunch of Raptor Lakes mean that people were installing, for the people who use desktop or consumer CPUs in data centers, which is like a limited subset for specific uses, where clock speed matters more than like parallelism, did that impact their installations of 14th and 13th gen CPUs in data centers? Absolutely. And he said that was a really fast turn because they got tired of having to pull machines out of racks and replace CPUs every 3 months. But like that's like a niche of an enormous market. So different space.
Yeah, lots of factors. Yeah, the other last thing I want to point out is there was a video over at Hardware Canucks had a really, I believe it was Hardware Canucks.
Shout out to Canada.
Yeah, had a video about AMD in the laptop space where they had the same laptop lineup, and then the one with the Intel CPU was paired with the highest end Nvidia GPU, but the one with AMD was paired with a lower end one, and it got the old design
See,
spec.
that's a bummer.
So yeah, it's like AMD in the laptop space is definitely lagging behind, and it's somewhere that they need to kind of work on.
And like if you looked at it in the last big round of mainstream laptops when Lunar Lake and Ryzen AI came out last year, there was a really interesting split where Intel had a little bit better battery life and a little bit less performance, especially on the GPU side, and AMD had a little bit more performance but a little bit less battery life. And like that is a personal choice that you and I make when we make a purchase. But the vendors who are buying thousands of laptops a quarter for their Fortune 500 companies probably have a deal with Dell for a specific product line, and they're like, "Well, we just want to give us 1,000 of these."
I mean, those mobile chips are good on the AMD side. I'm not saying they aren't good for sure, but yeah, it's different. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's trending in a specific direction.
Glass Puppo's comment is really interesting here. This is comments from the chat, but. If you're designing a laptop and you're looking at Intel and Nvidia, they come with board designs and direct support. When you're looking at AMD, you get good luck and zero supply guarantees. I don't know about the supply guarantees, but if Intel and Nvidia designs come with reference designs, then that takes a lot of load off of the people making those machines, and that's an interesting
yeah, that makes a big difference. So anyway, let's move on to our third topic, which is kind of a personal one. About overlay addiction.
Oh boy!
No, just kidding. It's not just about that.
How many Yahoo toolbars do you have installed?
Exactly. No, and actually, we've talked about this a little bit before, but we all come from such different spaces when we're talking about performance. Like this made me think recently. A couple things made me think of this recently, but I think I had mentioned it here. Maybe it was on our. Oh no, it was on the Linux
it on the
podcast.
Other project?
Yeah, the Linux one that hasn't been released yet.
Part of the Full Nerd Network of podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. Watch for it. Coming. And I talked about how I always have Task Manager up.
Yeah, it's real weird.
Like even just like sitting here right now on this System 76 laptop, I literally have a Task Manager equivalent kind of thing at desktop at home. Like this is not even a gaming thing. Like for me, having the Task Manager up gives me a first point of reference. If I have some sort of what I feel like a performance hiccup, or maybe my drive is really slow, or if I'm buffering on this video, what's going on? I just always quickly tab over to Task Manager because it gives me the first quick little look, and it's not super in depth. It's not like a deep tool, but it's at least a first little look to be like, I see my CPU usage is pegging right now. What's going on? Oh, Windows decided to pull an update right now. And so it's just like the first thing that I go to. But you thought I was a lunatic. You were like, "What?"
I did not say lunatic.
You said lunatic.
For the record.
Rewind the tape. You said lunatic. That I should be locked up and put in a nut house.
I did not. I definitely did not say nut house. Also,
I like nuts. Nuts are good.
I mean, I said, but don't you? When you do that, doesn't it impact your performance? and cause you some, some downstream consequences. And you were like, I like to see the little bars move.
And also barely. Like Task Manager is not eating up a ton of resources. Like especially like when I'm just sitting on my desktop doing normal work kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But even in gaming, I've really tried to pull it away. Really tried to pull away from it, but I always have my metrics up for the most part.
Wild.
Just to tune in settings. So like, yes, I have an addiction. I have a metrics addiction.
At least the first step is admitting you have a problem.
Wait.
So am I weird? Yes.
Hi, Elena.
Wait, why is this a problem? Why can't we all at least live in harmony with what we prefer and what makes us feel good?
Well, because he's over here saying I'm a weirdo, and
I did not say you were a weirdo. I did not say you were a
Yeah.
lunatic. I did not use any kind of charged language on this. I just said, wow, that's a lot of stuff to have going at any given time on your computer.
But a lot of people don't like running overlays. Like there are plenty of people who game without overlays. So.
I feel like there's two different topics
things, for sure.
here
Oh, boy.
that are being overlaid. Haha.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Dang, Elena.
Good one,
That's
Elena.
the good stuff.
Thank you.
PCWorld.com/newsletters/sign up, and you can get that right in your inbox.
I would say that there's two things at play here, which is one, do you like performance stats and do you like looking at them? And then the other one is how do you like seeing those stats? And I think for me, Adam, when you brought up this topic, I'm very on board with the idea of performance stats, but I don't necessarily love them as overlays.
So, okay. I know this is going to sound a little hypocritical from where we started this conversation.
Wait, are you the lunatic now?
When I run games, I typically leave that little Steam widget in the corner that just has a frame rate. It's real small, and it's just like if something feels weird, I can glance up at it. And
You mean the non-beta one, the one that just has the
classic?
frame rate?
Okay. Steam Classic frame rate, the old one. And it's just a sanity check for me. It's like, hey, something feels weird. Is it me? Is it the game? I also, in games that support this. So, for example, when I play Fortnite, I have the thing that has my frame rate and my ping and a little bit of a number of lost packets and a couple of other network performance things so that I can get a quick glance if something feels weird. Is it the server? Is it the network? Is it my computer? What's the problem? It turns out I don't really look at it very much. It's mostly just like a comfort blanket for me. Like I have my wubby that I'm holding on to that makes me feel safe, even though I don't ever look at it. Now, I do use the Steam Performance Monitor, the new one, when I'm doing latency stuff.
Yeah, well,
it's rad.
That was the other reason why this discussion got brought up. We have an article linked in the description, written by one Michael Kreider, who's here on the podcast talking about
Mr. Vertical himself.
Yeah, no, please stop. Steam's new performance monitor beats Task Manager, says Valve. Mike, first off, I want to get your take on the whole, performance monitoring overlay kind of stuff. How addicted are you to seeing those numbers?
I'd say I can quit whenever I want.
Perfect. Same.
The way I play pretty much any game that requires a good amount of resources, I have a target frame rate. If it's a multiplayer game, I need at least 120 just for the sake of competition. If it's a more, visually splendiferous game, I can go down to 90 or 60 and not really care. And I do pretty much the same thing that Will does. I keep either via Steam or via the game's native implementation, I just look at the frame rate and I adjust things until I get that where I want it. And if it's an online game, for example, Fortnite, I know just about where my frames are supposed to be in any given situation. And if I see a big chug, I'm like, all right, I've been running Vivaldi all day in work, and it's eating up 40 gigs of memory. I need to go ahead and clear that out. So it's just one little thing. A tiny bit of my attention is focused on that, unless something is chugging, and that's generally how I run it.
Well, what about this new? What about this new performance monitor that you wrote about? Does this give you maybe pause to say, "Ooh, I really like this. Maybe I want to see a little bit more."
I do have to say, as monitors go, it's tiny. I didn't realize it was 10 pixels tall in the corner.
Well, you can scale it.
You can configure it even. You make it a bar across the top. Oh, sorry.
Yep, that's how it is. How was set up by default when I tested it for this story. I was like, this this thing is a tiny little French fry of information. How am I going to get this into an image?
How do you
for
make a
an article
screenshot?
header?
Yeah.
Shoestring fry.
Actually, I think you did a pretty good job.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a great implementation. I do have to say, so Valve kind of stepped back from this just this morning, and I checked it
really?
before we started up the podcast, and they pulled it from the beta. There's and they said, hey, this needs more testing. We're reverting it to the older version. So just a
The
heads up.
calculation thing? The
Yes,
the calculation
the
part?
the new special sauce that they were doing for GPU calculation that they said was better than Task Manager was saying, let's take another look.
Yeah, and to
Shenanigans.
roll back real quick. So yeah, the newest update to the Steam beta. So you have to opt into the Steam client beta. It'll install it, relaunch, and that gives you access to this new more information bar, whatever.
Yes, it did yesterday and possibly Sunday, but not today. Now.
Yeah, but this new one they're saying has a new way to calculate GPU utilization that is better than Windows Task Manager. It's saying Valve claims, quote, appears to also underreport in similar situations to our prior implementation when referring to the Windows Task Manager. So yeah, they're trying to say, hey, we have the best calculations out there. I actually didn't know about that follow-up that they rolled that back. So
it was just barely before we started is when I noticed it and had to get it out.
Interesting.
Well,
yeah.
So for me, the frame rate thing is a double-edged sword, right? Because the frame rate is like a first line, hey, is something wrong? I can tell if I've done something stupid, like set the game refresh rate to 60 hertz and locked VSync on, right? But really, the thing that I want to get rid of more than make the frame rate go up, I want the 1% lows to go up so I get less stutters, and that's a pretty difficult thing to report in a human readable way to people who aren't already pretty educated. Having done a fair amount of trying to educate people about 1% lows, people are very confused about it and tend to get angry when you tell them that it doesn't matter if your game is running at 240 frames a second. If the 1% lows are 90, it's going to feel bad.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that both of you guys rely on, you're saying just that individual number, but yeah, that's just average. Like I would say that's one of the least important pieces to see. So yeah, getting that 1% low in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's still a useful piece of information, the average.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's first line for me, right? It's like it's
Yes.
literally like, did I configure something badly? Or
Yes.
like Mike said, when you're loading up a big AAA game that has ray tracing and all that business, it's am I sagging under 40 frames a second under that smooth 40, or am I
Smooth 40, baby.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's actually been, so I can talk a little bit about that side of things. Not maybe so much the Steam, performance overlay. And we can hop back on that. I don't mean to fully interrupt you, Kreider. But I have been, it's funny because you two, you and Will, Kreider, are Fortnite people, and I am Overwatch. Like, I spend, especially with this latest Battle Pass, I have spent way too much time in this game. And since they released a couple of retooled modes, the performance has been awful. So I have the frame rate, I have latency, and I think I have CPU utilization, one of the utilizations. And I have just been keeping an eye on that because when I feel the game just like this sluggishness or something else, I'm like, okay, is it the latency? Because there was a period where the latency would spike super hard and I just felt like I couldn't move the character at all. And there's others where it's obviously some kind of 1% low drop, but the average is really helpful because I'm like, okay, is there a way I can get around this? What happens to my frame rates if I drop the graphic settings down? What happens if I change the resolution on this? What happens if this? And I'm like, no, it's not my system. It is something happening on their server side or this build of the game. There's nothing I can do about it other than to every so often complain to my friends what the heck is going on with this? And then just getting out of my system emotionally and just moving on with my life.
And you mentioned you're using the one that's built into Overwatch.
Yes, because I play actually through the BattleNet client. I don't play through the Steam one. I should maybe try it just to see what the overlay is like with Steam. But for whatever reason, I've never really found that much of a difference between the two. And since I already had this multi tens of gigs filed, like downloaded through that client. I was like, it works. It's fine.
Also, Will, you said you use the built-in Fortnite one, right?
So yeah, there's no Steam overlay in this Fortnite one.
Well, but I mean, you could download something like Afterburner.
Yeah, I could.
NVIDIA
I try to
overlay or
minimize
something
the
like that.
amount of crap running in the back of my computer.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Like, would you rather have performance numbers through the actual game itself, or an overlay? I like the third-party overlay, like MSI Afterburner, because I can configure it the way I want it, and it looks the exact same for every single game. Yeah, if that makes sense. But
yeah, I get that. I generally don't fool with aftermarket. I've obviously used MSI Overburner because it's the best way to kind of manipulate your NVIDIA card out of the box. I usually use the one that's built into either the platform or the client. The one thing I will say, for example, on like games, using the built-in one is probably better because often when you say the Battlefield 6 demo is a great example of this. I was testing that out last weekend, the beta, and the 1% lows during gameplay are incredibly good. It's like 6 to 8 milliseconds, pretty consistent frame times all the way across the board on my machine. The moment it loads, the moment you die and it loads the spawn menu, the spawning menu, which like who cares about frame timing in the spawn menu, the 1% lows go up to like 70, 80 milliseconds because the menus are less optimized because it doesn't matter, right? Like I'm glad they didn't spend time optimizing frame time in menus. That's a good choice. But if I'm using the system overlay for that, and Battlefield, as far as I know, doesn't have like 1% low frame times. If I'm using the system overlay, it's going to count those 80 millisecond frames in the menus that don't matter as really, really slow frames. And I'm going to look at that number and think, oh, something's jacked up with this game. When I'm playing it, it feels super duper smooth. So using, like, theoretically, if they take the time to build in a tool, they can do things like not count menu frames because they don't matter. So you get an actual representation of gameplay frames versus menu frames.
Oh, you mean for the averages? For
the averages.
Oh, got it.
And MSI Afterburner doesn't have that information, right? So I'd rather use the thing that's built into the game just because the game is aware of what's going on and what matters in the game and what doesn't, whereas the overlay, whether it's Steam or MSI Afterburner or Epic or whatever, doesn't have that information. Now, are people actually acting on this? I don't know. Probably not. But that's my dream is that they care enough to not count those bad frames in the menus that don't matter.
I mean, well, but or you have both. I mean, I usually have both. Yeah, you have average A and 1% lows.
Look, what I'm saying is you should get a debug machine with debug hardware that you can plug another laptop into to get live feeds of the state of the GPU and CPU, and you can have like a whole. Right. You need to have like the whole the swordfish thing with all the screens around it.
The movie swordfish.
Hot computer hacking movie swordfish.
This is the perfect segue into a subtopic I wanted to bring up while we talked about this, which is what are your feelings? Because I know we were meant to talk about just like game performance, kind of some monitoring software type things. But I was wondering your take on having just like system performance information or whatnot, like fed to like a second little screen, either if you have such an AIO cooler, or even like when we were at Micro Center, I actually saw when we were filming, there was a dude who was helping his friend with a build, and he was actually taking like one of those special like LCD screens meant to like mount, and he was like measuring it and like putting it on a sample case and like talking to his friend. He's like, do you want to like hear? And I was like, this is so great seeing people like nerd out together like this, and the whole process of him helping out his buddy. But I was like, to me, that's still one of those projects where I'm thinking, I'll get to that someday, and I haven't yet. But I'm wondering if you all really like having that externalized and like look like you can like look real quick off the side to see, because I think a lot of people play full screen, so they're not always getting some of those like system temp and other things while they're in the middle of like whatever they're doing.
Look, I want LEDs on the front of the computer that show me system, CPU, and GPU utilization. I want
spoilers.
I want a big giant Govee Elgato RGB display on the background of my wall that just shows me the current status of the machine and is bouncing like blinking lights everywhere.
Oh gosh, like a light bright startup display.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say for me, like that. What you're talking about is the externalized hardware version. Well, assuming it's a hardware like another screen, is how I treat Task Manager, right? I don't have anything right now that's external that does that. except for I do have a case. I just switched my small form factor rig that I work on at home from the Fractal Mood. I think the Mood is the
tower
vertical,
one.
with the fabric.
Yeah, the one with the fabric. Yeah.
Yeah, I switched that out to the Thermaltake T100, which is really cool, but it has an optional LCD screen that you can place at the top, which I haven't done yet. But yeah, like that's why I use Task Manager, because I like to have something at the system level. Obviously, that's through software, but if I could get something in hardware,
Okay,
I'm
that was my
100%
question.
in. Yeah.
That was my question for you. If you actually had a specific preference for software implementation, or how you felt about hardware, like separate kind of hardware.
I've messed around with. I got this little screen. I think it was like 1920 by like 240 or something. Like it was
by 2.
Yeah, it was just like something really thin and long that like I had mounted under my monitor, and I think I used HW Info to have like a beautiful overlay and have these cool gauges and stuff. But it was actually kind of a pain in the butt. I want to experiment more with the built-in ones, like the Height Y70 Touch. Has their own implementation, which can be limiting. But like for me, I once again, I'm just looking for just some high level stats of like, okay, wait, I felt something I need to look over real quick and see.
You want the Fast and Furious A column gauges.
Yeah.
All the stuff going on in your engine.
Absolutely, yeah. A column.
Elena, I keep a power panel in my Home Assistant install for the plug that my computer is plugged into, so I can see how much juice so I can make sure I'm having enough fun for the amount of power I'm pulling out of the wall at any given moment.
You have literally quantified your enjoyment in terms
Yeah.
of electricity and money.
Look,
Whoa.
my dollars.
Can we
I mean, you're looking at it right now. I can see it. Yeah.
Can we get a whole article from you or video on like this version of min-maxing your enjoyment? Because there's a part of me that really just gets it. The whole like, okay, am I getting the most out of this power consumption?
I'll put it in the Full Nerd General channel so chat can see what I've done. But yeah, so I hooked up a power monitoring smart power switch to my computer because I was like, I want to see. I have this stupid big gaming PC, and I also use it to work on. Should I just be working on my laptop instead? The answer is yes. I should be working on my laptop instead.
Yes,
If you're worried about.
Because power here is
consumption,
incredibly expensive for like 6 hours a day or 8 hours a day or something like that. Anyway, the point is you can quantify anything. And I think that if you enjoy that, you absolutely should, except for Adam's use of just keeping Task Manager open all the time.
Dude, Task Manager is not that heavy.
I'm kidding.
So that's why I'm gonna say is at the end of it all, do you guys still enjoy playing the game itself? Having to monitor all
the
this.
game is the overlay.
The game is the overlay.
game is making sure the overlay is like nice and smooth. Like, what is that? What was the question? No, actually,
So not the game itself. It's
yeah. I mean,
monitoring.
All jokes aside, it is kind of the fun game itself to be like, ooh, how do I configure it to run optimally on my hardware? Is definitely a game to play.
And like I have literally so Home Assistant and OpenRGB and Signal RGB all have like lighting configurations that you can tie CPU performance to your to like performance metrics from your PC to the lighting in your PC. And we all know that RGB makes your computer go faster,
of course.
but it could also show you when your computer is running slow. Like I could set up OpenRGB so that when my CPU utilization gets high or my thermals get high and my CPU clock starts throttling, the lights turn from green to red in the PC. And like, I don't know why I wouldn't do that, except for it seems like it probably uses a lot of resources. Is why I haven't done it. Yeah.
Maybe. That's something you can easily test, though.
Prince of Florence says the juice is the squeeze, which I now understand what that means. So thank you.
The juice is the squeeze. Oh. Mike, are you juicing the squeeze? Are you squeezing the juice?
When you say it like that, it sounds
I'm going to
filthy,
plead the
Adam.
fifth on that. I'm going to say that on a public podcast.
Yeah.
No, I am a multi-monitor addict. I think it's been over 10 years since I used a primary system with less than 3 screens. So at one point I did have CPU and RAM over here on my second monitor, just showing it off. But since I upgraded the last time, I've got 64 gigs of RAM, and 90% of my work is in some kind of browser interface, including the stuff that I used to do in Photoshop. I now do in a tool called Photopea for all the stuff that we just do on text-based articles. So if my computer's chugging and I know it's not the game messing up, it's my browser. I close my browser and I've got all the RAM back.
That's funny.
So I've stopped actively monitoring that aside from just the frame rates, and even that I look at the frame rates maybe 1 out of every 10 times I open up a game.
Interesting.
So I'm just not. I still enjoy video games, yes, but I am nowhere near as obsessive as I used to be. Just because the stuff's gotten so powerful, I don't feel the need to obsessively optimize it anymore.
Yeah, like you can get a Switch 2 and play Fortnite on that just fine. It has a mouse and everything. You're good to go.
So Mike's the normal one.
Not quite that lackadaisical yet.
Come on, Mike. You just need to sink lower. Lower the standards.
I
have been very tempted to get a Switch 2, and I've been resisting that siren call.
Well,
banana.
I know I've mentioned this before, but I think the other part of it is that because I do so much gaming on my handhelds, like it's like 80+% of my gaming is handheld based. There, I'm really having to min max and like make the tweaks and the decisions to get like the best performance.
Makes sense.
Because it is so constrained in a lot of ways. I mean, if I'm playing a 2D indie game, whatever. But even then, sometimes I'll still put it on. Like I was playing that Eartheon, which is like a literally programmed to run on a Sega Genesis. But I still at the beginning had the overlay up just to make sure it was running okay.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you get.
And then I did turn it off.
So the thing for me is, if I'm streaming or something, I want like I start a stream and I just need the game to just work. And usually I'll load up like if it's something I've never played before, I'll load it up the first time, make sure it looks good, and then once it's okay, then I stop thinking about it and just start thinking about playing the game, which is a little bit of a different story.
Yeah.
Now, Adam, I want to ask you something that's tying into something we were talking about earlier. Say that you're looking at like a full PC upgrade for whatever reason, and you've parted it out. It's going to be $3,000. And you've looked at all the games that you play, especially since most of it's on your handheld, and you said, hey, everything I think I'm going to be playing in the next year, 2 years will be available on GeForce Now. Would you like put off that $3,000 investment and say, no, $20 a month, GeForce Now does everything I need it to, and I can play it on my Steam Deck or whatever my handheld at the moment is, and plug it into my TV if I want to do it in 4K and it's the same experience? Would you be tempted to just no longer worry about your own personal hardware?
No, I would say no. I mean,
you got to get that squeeze, huh?
Well, but also like, I mean, listen, I'm in a lucky spot right now. We work here. We have loads of hardware that I get to mess around with. So like I have a whole separate gaming rig and a whole separate work rig. If it was just me with my money, like that would be the same rig. So like for work related purposes, I need the hardware. Like the gaming is part of it. Like really what it would break down to is I would have one system and that system would do the 80% work, 20% gaming, the really high end stuff. And then the Steam Deck or whatever would be the sidecar where I'm doing most of my quote unquote gaming. And at that point I would probably, if assuming that was strong enough, I would probably do what you do and stream locally from that machine first. And if that doesn't work, like because I need the physical hardware there for work anyway. Like my PC is not just for gaming. So So no, I don't think I could do that.
I love the streaming locally in the house. That feels like best of both worlds to me. Because instead of paying $20 a month for 2 years, I pay $3,000 every other year, and it's a smart investment, right?
Yeah, it's a smart investment, right? Yeah.
Help, please. This is a drill post, actually. Help me. My family's starving. I don't understand. Yada yada.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so yeah, interesting stuff. I'm so curious to see how other people fall into it, because I look at some people playing games who are like, oh, I never bring up an overlay, and I'm just like, man, ignorance is bliss. I think of that scene in The Matrix where he's sitting there with a piece of steak on his fork, and he's just like, ignorance is bliss. And I'm just like, man,
that's
could be me.
The hero
put
of the
me
Matrix.
Back. Put me back
Joey
into
Pants.
The Matrix.
Yeah.
And then he's swirling the glass, and he's just like, I don't need to be anybody, rich, but I want power, but
I want to be famous.
But not too famous. But I don't want to remember a thing.
Yeah, that's what I often say.
So
please help me not remember.
Adam is in the Matrix.
I don't know. I think it's really funny listening to you talk about all of this, like everybody. on the show right now talking about this because I think we're all revealing that we actually somehow became adults because we've applied our love for playing games and min-maxing to things like our power bill.
Yeah.
And, how do I get the most performance out of this thing that I bought? That's as much the game as it is the gameplay
Performance
itself.
/ enjoyment.
I don't like
Yeah.
this.
And I have a minor random tangential comment and that based on the juice is the squeeze comment, I haven't gone right down a rabbit hole on this, but I was scrolling through Instagram as one does, and I had a couple of like reels that popped up for these talking about industrial like cast iron juicers. And
Cast
watching
iron
peop-
juicers? Whoa.
Yeah, so like they've got like a whole like lever, I don't know how you want to pronounce it. And you just get so much more leverage from that. So watching them get like maximum amount of juice from like an orange or a pineapple or something is weirdly incredibly satisfying. Like you just know they fully hit the max on that min-max table, and there's just something very just like, oh, I love it.
That's
This
funny.
is great.
That's funny.
Do you
Also,
not?
apparently you can save so much money on it. Like
Well,
one dude was talking about how he pays like $12 for like expensive pineapple juice, and he bought like a $2 pineapple, and he got the same amount of juice.
We did juicer videos for Tested a really long time ago and did the cold
Of
press
course you
juice
did.
where you the thing that you jam the leafy greens in the top and then out comes some like green slop. And
So appetizing.
I know. Well, it was delicious and I loved it and it was really nice to make and all that. And then like cleaning it was such an enormous pain in the butt that I just didn't want to do. Like it wasn't worth the juice.
Are we
The juice was
talking-
not worth the squeeze.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we talking about like those like bullet blender type things where you have to like get in with like the really fiddly little
No. This was the one that
blades?
the one that I liked was the one that had an enormous motor and it had like an auger that jammed your leaves through a hole
Yeah.
that made
No.
stuff come out.
This is super analog, which I also kind of love about it
Is this like
because
the-
you literally, yeah, exactly. You
I
just
have one of
grab
those
a
too,
handle
yeah.
and you just like like bring it down and
Yeah.
it like locks, so it like gets a really really tight
Holds,
vice
yeah.
squeeze
Yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Hold.
And it looks like it's a really simple contraption. Like it looks like it's very simple to clean too, which like also
Yeah, really important.
an adult kind of thing where you're just like, so that's the max. You get the max amount of juice and the minimum amount of cleaning, like 100% satisfying.
Love it. Love it.
That for me it hits the espresso. Like when I want an espresso drink, I had an espresso machine for a while and I sold it because it was such a pain in the pain. And I'll just pay $4 or $6 or whatever it costs for an espresso on an espresso drink now.
All right, we need to squeeze the rest of this juice out of this podcast and move over to the viewer Q&A. If you have a question right now, get in the chat and at the Full Nerd Network. That's the easiest way for us to see it. If you're watching or listening to this later, don't worry. There's a way you can get your questions
really?
in. Yeah, don't worry. I know you might be worried.
Oh, thank God.
But we have a way for you to do that. There's a link in the description
So
to
worried.
the Full Nerd Discord. And actually, we should rename that one to the Full Nerd Network, I think, because we want to fold in the whole, stuff. I think you're the, no?
Nope. It's the full nerd flagship.
Oh, you just want
So
to
we
be
need
about
to make a
the
new
podcast.
Discord
So we
for
got
the
to
other
we got to
podcasts.
take out the Linux section then.
Yeah.
Nope. Everyone can just come hang out on that.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying
Tough
a name
affair.
change, like the Full Nerd Network, is what I mean.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well,
Wow.
she holds the keys there.
She's in charge, huh?
So anyway, there's a line in there for Full Nerd questions that you can put that in there any time of the day or night or evening or morning. Maybe you're drinking your morning juice that you squeezed freshly yourself, and you have a question that you want to ask us.
Yeah.
Get in there, put it in, and we will answer it here on this show.
Do we have a section about juicing?
No.
We have a food channel.
Ah,
Yes,
okay.
there
So that's
you go.
where my
Channel.
juice-related questions go.
We have a food channel, yeah. We have a question that we kind of already talked about a couple times, but Technological Nerd over on Discord said, do we have an ETA on the Linux podcast?
Yes.
Friday.
Oh, really?
Friday should be the day. If it's not Friday, it'll probably be Saturday. But I'm aiming for Friday, so it coincides with Elena's weekly newsletter at PCWorld.com/newsletters/sign up. And yeah, I'm excited for it. We've actually, just to give you a little bit of a hint behind the scenes, we've actually recorded 2 episodes already. So we'll be launching with episode 0.
Really? Oh yeah, we have.
Yeah.
I was there.
This guy, yeah. And we're already talking about recording the 3rd one. So we're deep in it. You're gonna see a little bit of a lag of the discussion, but I'm excited to talk to people. I'm also a little worried because, especially in the episode 0, was just kind of like giving the backstory, what we're doing, what we plan on, housekeeping kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The first episode is where we get into the meat of it.
Your shame.
And I've definitely revealed myself to be like very not knowledgeable when it comes to Linux and scared of a lot of things.
It's brand new. It's a hard thing. The thing that is constantly reminded is that things that are easy on operating systems that you're familiar with are hard when you're doing them on operating systems that are new. And Linux especially is a little bit difficult because there are an infinite, it's the old Vulcan thing of infinite diversity and infinite combinations.
It really is.
Really and truly is.
Yeah, we talk about it in there, but I was just like, is there such a thing as too much choice? I think there might be, to a certain degree. Yeah,
freedom isn't free, Adam. That's all I'm going to say.
Because but I'm using it, pretty basically. Once again, this System 76 laptop I've been using. You see me using on the show. I'm trying to get Cache installed on this ZBook to take with me on a trip. So yeah, I'm really giving it a go, and I've definitely run into a lot of things where I'm just like, oh no, I am so scared. And Will's just like, oh yeah, whatever, it's fine. You know what? When it comes to Linux, I feel like the Willis.
What?
Because usually I'm over here building the PC, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, throw it in, just rip it out, it's fine. And Willis is always just wincing, like, oh no, don't do that. So, but when it comes to Linux, I'm like, I don't want to go into the command line. What if I put in the wrong thing? I'm going to wipe the whole thing. I'm just break it. I'm just like, did I put the right one in? Is that the right? And you're like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. Just go for it.
Like Qui-Gon Jinn said in The Phantom Menace.
Qui-Gon?
Qui-Gon?
Qui-Gon.
I don't know. I just read the books. I never watched the movies.
Qui-Gon Jinn. Good old Qui-Gon Jinn.
He said there's always a bigger fish. So I'm your bigger fish, and when I need help, I go to the Linux channel on the Full Nerd or on the TechPod Discord, and there's much bigger.
But you're
fish
not even
there.
the expert either.
Compared to you,
I know. Compared to me, you are the expert. Well, no. It is literally It is baked into the podcast to say we're not experts here.
We start by saying we're not experts.
Yeah, do not come to us for all Linux knowledge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am so far on the other end of expert. I am so noob that I am worried the feedback we're going to get of people just being like, wow, you really.
I think maybe you shouldn't be using.
No, they've been yelling at us for use Linux, but maybe they look at me and they're like, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't use Linux. Go back to Windows.
No, they would never do that because they're too excited to get another person to convert over.
I mean, here's the thing: and we talk about this a little bit in the second episode. I think there's no safety net. Right. So where Microsoft is like, hey, man, you need to back up your computer. And by the way, we'll sell you a service that makes that easier. Linux is just like, yeah, dude, back it up or don't. We don't care. It's fine. You want to run open source drivers? That's cool. If you want to run closed source drivers, also cool. We don't care. Just do what you want. And but also read RTFM because,
read the right manual.
Yeah. But also, I'm going to say I found a whole new, in the old days, if you asked questions that were in the documentation or on the man pages are like instructions
manual.
Manual for each application on Linux. You can type man and then the application name and it pops up a really long thing with way more information than any normal human is ever going to need about how to interface programmatically with that application when you just really want to know -F is the command to do the thing you want. There's a whole new generation of Linux people who are like, hey man, we're happy to help. Which is shocking. I was in the Linux channel on the Full Nerd Discord.
We do have some good people over there.
I was going to say, I can't remember who it was, and I don't want to out the wrong person. But somebody was like, yeah, you don't if you have a stupid question, just ask. And if I'm here and I'm available, I'll be happy to tell you that. Which I thought is really, maybe it might have been 59 Smoke. But anyway, yeah, the community is much friendlier than the old school reputation of Linux community used to be.
So I think it depends on the
It also
community
depends
you
on the
build,
community you're in,
and
yes.
and we've
Yes,
built a pretty good community
true.
so far.
We
so.
have a great community,
Yeah.
and we're really grateful for everyone who comes to hang out with us.
Yeah.
I will say, Adam, though, that, honestly, when we all first learned Windows, it actually isn't that much different than this.
Yeah.
Right? We didn't have
for
the
sure.
guardrails that we have today. And I mean, honestly, I know you, and I know that you keep good backups of your systems and you keep really clean systems. So if you accidentally nuke one of your distro installs, you're going to be fine. You just redo it.
Yeah.
And then you'll learn. You're
yeah.
like, okay, like I don't do that, or like how do I do it better next time so I don't nuke the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
The-
It's
what-
just the decision trees are much broader in doing everything.
One of the
And
things.
detailed.
yeah.
It's both. It's like both wide and deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things I just added to the list for this, and we've talked about it on this podcast before, is the value of documentation. So when you do something that's hard and you figure out how to do it, writing down what you did so that when you have to redo it or it breaks at some point in the future, you have a place to start is a hugely valuable thing, especially when you're doing Linux stuff, in my experience. Windows is kind of more forgiving. But anyway.
A friend of the show, Kyle Wild, in the chat asks, is anyone actually an expert in Linux, though? It's kind of like Minecraft for system engineers. You know what?
Not bad analogy.
Yeah, maybe they don't proclaim to be an expert, but man, do they really come across as like, I'm the expert in Linux. You should be doing this.
It's funny. I saw somebody write something the other day. It was like, hey, there's no... The time at which any one human could contain not the entirety of knowledge about how the Linux, something as complicated as the Linux kernel works, passed in like 1996. And so nobody's truly an expert in anything, but also there are definitely people with more expertise than any always. There's always somebody with more expertise.
Yeah. Mike, what's your level of expertise in Linux? I'm curious.
Like zero. I installed one of the what they call a writer deck operating systems on an old ThinkPad a few weeks ago, and it took me like 2 hours. This is the most minimal interface it can be. Just text and a tiny file manager, and I ran away because I was afraid.
Oh, interesting.
I'm a little baby child. I've always used Windows, and I'll probably keep using Windows, although I am open to having my mind changed. I would love to see Steam and maybe or I should say Valve and maybe some other partners come up with SteamOS as a viable, possible Linux-based alternative to Windows. I've been banging that drum for several months. Like, hey, Microsoft is doing some stuff that not everybody likes, and that's always the case. But it's especially the case now. If anybody was going to make a big push for an alternative, now would be the time to do it.
That's why 2025, the year of Linux.
So we always say
That's
here
what
at
we keep saying.
PCWorld.
Yeah. That is not the name of the podcast, by the way.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah,
though.
We should change the name of the podcast, Adam.
Yeah,
Just redo
yeah.
the logo.
Oh, well, but then it's got to be over to 2025, you know? Yeah.
2020X.
Yeah. The year of Linux podcast. Actually, that would have been
We
pretty
should have
funny.
just called it the year of Linux. And then,
Yeah, that
you
would
know,
have been for
yeah.
that every year is the podcast.
Look, it's still
Anyway.
not too late. We haven't posted.
Oh,
it
then
yet.
we make seasons out of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And
Year
each season is a
2025
year.
edition, 2026 edition.
Not too late to change it.
Yeah, that is actually pretty funny. Yeah. Elena, has this made you want to go back and try more Linux? Love to have you on the podcast. You know, we are lining up some guests.
Yeah.
No.
Dang, wow. You burned those bridges. You took the matches and just,
It's not even burning the bridges. Like, a lot of it has to do with the fact that, like Will said, I have apparently reached that point in my life where my memory just can't hold everything the way it used to. So I actually will write the note as, "Hey, future Elena, this is what you did." Like, love, past Elena, or sorry for what's going to happen probably to you, past Elena, right? And taking those notes is actually quite time consuming. And also, I guess maybe because I'm older now, I don't have as much time to dedicate to doing a bunch of notes for just every single project I want to do. So I have to be a little bit more judicious of what I'm doing. I am interested in Linux. I am trying to get more into it because I do think this is, whether it happens this October, which it's not going to, or next October, or whenever it happens, Windows 10 is going to die. It's going to lose its security updates. And when that happens, that, like, as Kreider's nodding his head, like, all of us on the PCWorld staff have to, I feel like we need to be prepared to give informed, like, opinions of, like, here are recommendations for, like, the next steps you can take. And to me, you can always give a better opinion and recommendation when you actually have solid knowledge of the thing you're talking about. So I don't feel particularly emotionally, personally motivated to learn the ins and outs of Linux, but I feel like this is something very important for just the populace in general. And so, this is something important to learn and be familiar
So
with.
you're not going to be PCWorld's Linux editor, is what I'm hearing.
I don't know if I get a say in that, honestly, but I would not be necessarily putting my hat in the ring.
Yeah. It's interesting times that we live in. Let's get to another question over here on the Discord. SKNDB Batu. I don't know how to say this. What do you guys think of the Clippy movement? What is the Clippy
What's the
movement?
Clippy movement?
Is there a Clippy movement happening?
Man, I love a Clippy.
I should have researched this ahead of time.
Should
Yeah,
I be
please.
afraid of
I
Google?
wonder if that's a reference. Oh, sorry. I wonder if that's a reference to the fact that there's supposed to be a co-pilot avatar. Mark wrote about this for our site. Yeah, Kreiner knows what I'm talking
3 weeks
about.
ago, yeah.
I wonder if it's related to that. And it does feel like, in general, a lot of, not a lot, but like there are companies who I think are trying to make certain things more palatable to people by anthropomorphizing, I can't pronounce that word properly, things to make them more, I don't know, emotionally appealing, perhaps.
They should have called it Bob. There's my opinion on the new Clippy movement.
So
this is
according
what it
to r/out of the loop, a subreddit for
I've heard of
people
this.
who are out of the loop, see
I love
us.
that subreddit.
It is a consumer advocacy campaign from YouTuber Louis Rossmann, who says he encouraged a video. He posted a video
Louis
encouraging
Rossmann.
Lewis. Did
Yeah.
I say Lewis or did I say Louis?
You said Louis.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, familiar, but whatever. Uploaded a video encouraging internet users to change their profile pictures to an image of Clippy, the old Microsoft Office avatar from the 90s, as a form of silent protest against unethical conduct by technology companies, such as mining personal data for training of artificial intelligence programs, or its sale to data brokers, planned obsolescence, censorship, or the use of ransomware. I think this was also kicked off by YouTube's thing where they're going to use AI to profile users based on the things that they view rather than their stated age range, and add childlike gates to people who watch videos for children. As a fan of Bluey, I'm offended by this, but it's not on YouTube, so I'm probably okay. Yeah, so that's what this is. I don't have strong feelings about this. I think that changing your profile picture is the least effective form of protest you can imagine.
And that's a pretty broad swath of things to loop into that one change of your profile pic. Like if you wanted to protest against unethical tech companies, like that is a list that doesn't end.
Like the best way to do that is stop using products that those tech companies make, like Microsoft Windows or Google Search, or move to a cabin in the woods and start writing manifestos. There's all sorts of good ways to do that. But like changing your profile picture, kind of toothless.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, interesting. I'll have to read up more on that. We got a fresh, hot question in from one Elena Yee. Hi, hello. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
No, the answer is no.
Yeah, the answer is no.
Sorry.
Moving on. Next question. I'm just kidding. Yes. What's your question?
Okay. So this is actually a real question, and I actually would be interested in hearing feedback from, everyone who's listening to the show as well, because maybe minorly big confession time. I am actually a very new, not convert, but user of not even fully mouse and keyboard, but I'm using a mouse now for my gaming. And I didn't really give much thought to DPI and like how much that affects gameplay and aim. And I have always assumed, and for good reason, I have like some things like with my wrist that I don't always have like great, control over, like grip strength and things like that. I just assumed I have terrible aim. And I've just lived my life this way and I'm fine with it. But the other day, I had a friend over, and so I set up a separate station on a glass table, and I was like, oh, okay, well, the mouse isn't going to work if I have this reflective surface, so I put a piece of cardboard down, which slowed the movement, I think, and suddenly I was hitting more headshots and, like, just better aim, and I was like, oh, oh, this is a thing, but I don't know how to figure out this. I mean, I could go to Reddit and read a bajillion things, but I'm doing the lazy thing and I'm asking my knowledgeable coworkers
you got friends,
and
yeah.
audience for their take on like, how do I start experimenting with this? Like, what are some ranges I should be looking at for trying different things? Like, this is a genuine question. Help me get better at murdering people.
You want to click on more? You want to shoot more people in the head? Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Mike, I would call you our resident mouse expert, right?
I'm the keyboard expert, but I do
thought
know
you
a
knew
few
the
things
mouse
about
too.
mice.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
There's a lot of different ways you could take this, but my general advice is just try a bunch of different ranges, a bunch of DPIs, and find the one that's comfortable for you. I set all my mice at 800 just because that's what I find works best across shooter games, which is where I'm using the mouse most intensely, and also my desktop because I don't like to switch between a bunch of settings all the time. There are mice that will, this one actually looks kind of like it, that will give you a little side button that you press specifically with your thumb. They used to call it a sniper button, where it either, does it lower the DPI or raise the DPI?
You can
it
usually, it's
changes
usually
it
configurable. Yeah.
yeah, and it changes it in a very noticeable, tactile way where you just want to zoom in and aim very, very specifically. And I've tried something like that a few times and never really got comfortable enough for it. If you are a high-level player, it could be useful. But yeah, to boil all that down, I would say try out a bunch of different stuff, see what feels most comfortable for you. I do think the specific gaming mice that they make these days that go up to 30,000 DPI or more are kind of insane.
That's Brad, right? Brad uses a really high DPI.
So I'm gonna give different advice. Hot takes. So I used to play PUBG fairly competitively and talk to a lot of people who are much better at me than me at video games about how they do their setups. And the advice I got, generally there's two types of advice. People either want to have very high sensitivity and very low mouse movement to do aiming, and that requires a pretty high degree of precision, of your physical movement precision. The most important thing is to start using your elbow instead of your wrist to do your movements. You want to maybe use your wrist for really tight, fast flick shots, but you want to, if you have RSI problems, especially, moving at your elbow instead of at your wrist is going to help you a ton. Because moving your wrist is where you cause problems for yourself with RSI problems. My recommendation is to set your DPI up really, really high as you can have it comfortably, and then turn the sensitivity in game and in Windows all the way down, because your goal is to have each pixel update on the camera not move you more than 1 pixel in the game. So if you're playing on a higher resolution display, especially, this is important because you never want to have the mouse movement jump you more than 1 pixel, like an individual update on the mouse movement jump you more than 1 pixel in the game, or else it's going to feel like your mouse is skipping across the screen. And it means that if you're trying to hit a really tiny head a long way away, which is what we're doing in PUBG a lot because the game takes place at mid to long range distance for the most part, you want to have that happen. The other benefit of doing a very slow movement on a big mouse pad is you can control recoil really precisely. So if you're shooting, say, a Counter-Strike AK-47, which has a specific recoil pattern, it's the same every time you shoot it. You start with your mouse up at the top of that pad and you move your mouse in the specific recoil pattern, and every single shot can land on head or body if you train yourself to be good at it. That's high level nonsense that like normal human beings never realize or do. There's a couple of games on Steam that actually, there's a whole bunch of them now. The popular one that I've used most is Aim Labs, and that lets you set up the games that it asks you the games you play, the size of your monitor, the resolution of your monitor, the type of mouse you have, and whether you're a big mouse pad person or a small mouse pad person, and gives you all of that information. And kind of lets you configure a series of tests like shooting pistols and shooting machine guns and shooting the different sniper rifles if you're playing like Widowmaker or whatever in Overwatch. And then the last thing is, if you have RSI problems, I think light mice are better than heavy mice. And that's an enormous rabbit hole you can go down to where people are like taking Dremels and carving plastic and stuff out of their mice. You don't need to worry. Yeah, exactly.
Look at all those holes.
You don't need to go that far, but like a Logitech G Pro Superlight or Glorious, I can't remember the name of their current one, but they make sub 80 gram mice that are really, really nice and have good sensors and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually did find that. So the mouse I've been using is heavier, and the one I was on my like random kind of jank setup, it was a super lightweight a Cooler Master mouse. I think it might be the wired version of what you have, Kreider. I don't know if that's a Cooler Master one.
Oh no, this is Solakaka is the brand. It was
What a name. All right.
yeah, it was a cheapo alternative to a Razer one. I did an article on it. You can search for it on PCWorld. I'll shut up now.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a very lightweight mouse. And so there's something about the combination, maybe, I don't know, of that plus the cardboard, which was like kind of maybe slowing the sensor down a little bit. I don't know. But I was like, oh, maybe I need to look into this. But I don't know, like, and then I was like, oh, it's kind of a rabbit hole because it's like, oh, do I like turn down the DPI? Do I change the surface, literal physical surface that I'm on? Do I change the mouse weight? There's just kind of like your Linux stuff, Adam. For me, it's just like there's a lot of factors and sliders I can play with here. And I don't have an unlimited budget to just try a bajillion different mice. So
yeah, actually, that's a good question. Like, I feel like there's probably like a decision tree here, right? Like, of the three factors we're talking about, the software, like it actually, either DPI or like how it's, controlled the setup to do the per pixel thing or whatever. There's the hardware itself, which is the mouse, light, heavy, cable, non-cable, whatever. And then the mouse mat itself, right? Mm-hmm. Are those the kind of the three things we're talking about? I feel like you could probably get most of the way with the software or figure out the software first and then backport to the other ones.
So, yeah, I mean, I think when I talk about turning the DPI up really high, by the way, I mean like to 8,000, not to the 40,000 that a current mouse will do. Those are uncontrollable. But yeah, I think for Elena, I would start with hey, I have repetitive stress injury problems and I want to not exacerbate that by learning to use a mouse, and go up from there probably is where I would start the sieve.
Yeah, I'm curious.
And somebody asked about I don't like the sniper buttons, the DPI. Like, but part of the thing that the PUBG pros used to talk about is building that muscle memory so that your brain knows how far your mouse moves to move the snap onto the heads. And most games let you change the DPI for like zoomed in ADS now separately or the sensitivity for ADS zoomed in.
Interesting.
Independently.
Yeah. Rather than you clicking
rather than making it a
mouse.
hardware button, it's
that makes sense.
Probably better to make that change in the game now.
Yeah, that seems too complicated for me.
So go ahead.
Sorry.
I wanted to get this right. You said your advice to try out is set the DPI on the mouse itself, the physical sensor, way, way higher than I have it, and then lower down the sensitivity in the software windows and or the game.
My game sensitivity is usually between like 1% and 5% of their maximum bar. And
I know mine's usually on the lower end of that.
Yeah. So
even with a relatively low DPI on the mouse.
You may be doing this already and you may just like a lot of movement. Like some people, like I know a couple of Counter-Strike players that literally have custom mouse mats that are like 3 feet by 3 feet and are reaching out here and they're using the whole space because of the recoil management and because they want like the ability to zoom in with the op and have incredibly precise like half-inch movement for 5 pixels when they're doing headshots and flicks. But but the other thing that's important about this is you're not wrong, I'm not wrong, there's no right or wrong here. It's literally what you're comfortable with. There are people that play StarCraft professionally that are using 20-year-old Microsoft IntelliMouse Explorers, by the way, Hardware Hall of Fame nominee, that because they like that mouse, and that's an 800 DPI mouse, and like it's locked at that, and it has 4 buttons and a wheel. I think like there's no wrong answers here.
Cool. Thanks, y'all. I will say I will end this by saying that I'm not saying that there isn't a high level of customability and that in some ways is very superior, but I also think that you can see it from the flip side, and I crack up every time I think about someone former colleagues who have told me, laughing, that mouse and keyboard are superior. Why would you ever play on a controller?
Right.
And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, there are a lot of actually really good controller players. Like I used to work with someone who, without the like crazy aim assist, could do some crazy like fine movement on those analog sticks. And I'm like, the fact that people can do that on a fixed piece of hardware and they're that good actually says more about the skill diff than you in the different direction than you think it does.
That was always the argument.
I mean, but the counter to that is
Will's going to
auto-aim.
continue this argument.
No.
You come from the publication where these colleagues would say this to me, Will.
I know the person you're
I
talking
am not
about, and they are
surprised by
very
this.
good with the controller. I used to play controller games with them. The other thing that's happening is on the controller side, this is all happening too. So like people are doing wild controller mods these days to add more like taller sticks or different kind of sensors on the stick and all this stuff. And like the level playing field doesn't exist anymore. So you should do what feels best to you, right?
100%.
What makes you most
100%.
comfortable.
Well, Lewis Law in chat
thought it was
says
funny.
Lewis Law in the chat says wrong answer. Apple Magic Mouse for gaming.
There you go. Boom.
Hey guys, I gotta stop.
Touch
I gotta
scroll.
I gotta plug in my mouse.
Oh, yeah.
It's now a track finger.
Jesus. All right. A couple more, and then we'll get out of here. Friend of the show, Great Mighty Daddy, has a recommendation question for us. You guys have any recommendations on where to buy an M.2 2230 size Wi-Fi with Bluetooth card from a reputable vendor in new condition or straight from the OEM? Usually E-keyed. I want to populate my M.2 2230 slot on HP small form factor PC. So and add Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Actually, first question: do they? Well, I'm gonna read this last line because it's funny. Just looking around Amazon and Newegg, it seems like the gray market that may be sketchier than a USB found on the ground or eating candy off the floor.
Oh,
That's pretty
got
funny.
personal.
So are there adapters that have both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on one 2230?
Oh, most of them.
Yeah.
Most of the
Really?
modules are
Yeah.
both.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
for
I
a
guess I didn't
laptop,
know
because
that.
he's specifically talking about a laptop. I am trying to find, because he has, it's one of those situations where it's like you name three things, you only get two. So, because I'm trying to find, because I am just naming my own personal leanings here. I'm very much a fan of Intel Wi-Fi module. They're very rock solid, or they have been. I don't know what's going to happen to it now. But I think trying to find a seller that isn't potentially gray market is going to be the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, because almost all these parts are going to be OEMs that come out of retail laptops or something, right? These particular M.2 radios.
Not necessarily.
This is to replace an existing radio, right?
Yeah.
No, I
Because-
think they said add.
Well, so the other problem is if you don't have antennas, if you don't have the right antenna leads inside the board, like on the device, like you need those little antenna ports there because like you have to have an external antenna for those radios to work.
Oh, so
Right.
actually, this is a mini workstation. Now that I'm looking it up, it's a HP Elite desk. So essentially, a mini PC.
So, like-
yeah,
Like I've
that has a slot for it. It's just not already
it's
populated.
not populated.
Yeah.
So then it probably already has the leads, and then it'll go to an external antenna on the outside of the case. I bet. I just go to Amazon and buy them for this. I just live on the edge.
Yeah, I don't know. That is a tough one.
Here's one with a box. It has a picture of a box. That's probably good, right?
Yeah, I mean, is there any sort of general buying advice you would give, Elena? Like, just not just this, but purchasing anything. Like, what are your thresholds to be like? Oh, do you have a certain amount of user reviews? Is this? I don't know. What is your checklist?
Yeah, so for this, it's a little trickier, right? Because user reviews, I mean, those can be bought or manufactured these days. My approach to this kind of thing is normally I try to get it as like cheap as possible. Not so cheap that it's like, okay, that probably is not going to work. But let's say I can go to eBay and like I look for someone who seems to be more of either an actual professional that's parting out, probably like recycled corporate laptops. So they basically probably bought a huge lot of them and is like open them up to part out the thing so people can buy replacement parts. I look for somebody like that with a lot of decent user reviews. You know, those can, again, be manufactured or bought, but it kind of helps a little bit. And I look for someone who's selling it at a reasonable price, you know, because then I'm not out too much money if it doesn't work. Or I buy it through Amazon because I look for someone with a seller name that's not obviously like, oh, this is probably Fly By Night. And you kind of, it's one of those things where you see it, you kind of know what I mean, because it's just like a bunch of like random characters or gobbledygook that doesn't make any sense in English. And it doesn't seem like an obvious name of a business. And I'll buy it through Amazon as long as it's like sold and shipped, or sorry, buy it like shipped by Amazon, because it means Amazon's return policies apply there. So I can at least try the card out or the hardware piece out. And if it doesn't work, then I can at least be covered by Amazon's return policy. So those are kind of the two avenues I would take for something like this, where it's harder to find through something like Micro Center or B&H, Amazon, Newegg, the more reputable, or sorry, not Amazon, but like the more like obviously hardware store type places. You could also try your local computer store if you have one. So like here in the Bay Area, we have like Central Computer. And I don't know if they sell that kind of thing, but they would be a place I could call and ask if they do sell that kind of part.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a good point. Like buying local at least gives you a little bit of a middleman to help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah.
Sometimes their return policies are way worse than Newegg or Amazon, though.
They are, but if it doesn't work, they're not going to be
That's
selling
true.
products that don't work.
That's true.
Well, yeah, you would hope.
They shouldn't.
Yeah.
So that way, if they're a decent business.
The other thing is you can also do like the USB wireless adapters aren't bad these days, in my experience.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's always an option, especially if you can get one with an external antenna.
True. Well,
So yeah.
yeah. Interesting indeed. I think that about wraps it up. I'm gonna call it. We're done here.
No fun ones?
Yeah.
fun ones?
No.
I think
we're-
you asked the fun one, Elena.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Elena,
Okay.
That's the fun one. You already ate all the fun out of this.
Sorry. That's my fault.
No. I'm excited for. Well, here. Last fun question.
Oh.
Will, have you pre-ordered the new Oreo flavored Reese's or the Reese flavored Oreos?
I didn't look. I'm still processing the Selena Gomez and Post Malone flavored Oreos.
Yeah. I'm
No,
excited.
I didn't know
Buy
those
them?
existed. I couldn't find
you
them
actually buy
anywhere.
them?
No,
Oh.
I know the Selena Gomez ones are supposed to be cinnamony, and the Post Malone ones are sweat flavored. I think so.
Oh.
I have tried the Selena Gomez ones.
Oh.
They are cinnamon-y and pretty good. I mean,
Okay.
I'm much more of a classic Oreo guy myself, but they're pretty good for cookies.
Whoa, there's a Halloween Oreo Puffs
Cereal.
cereal.
That sounds
Okay.
great.
Yeah.
Look,
What distinguishes
Apple
regular
pie?
Oreo Puffs from Halloween Oreo Puffs?
It has Halloween decorations.
I want
like
to.
Halloween.
They're probably pumpkin shaped. I want to know what the next stage of Oreo. Like we're now flavoring Oreos after people. What's the What's the next stage? Are we going to get Star Wars flavor? I mean, we have, I guess, Star Wars branded Oreos.
I think you're gonna have to nest things. It will have to be Star Wars,
Ooh.
Lego, Fortnite, Oreos.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Well, hey, listen, I'm looking up on Target right now. The Selena Gomez ones are in stock down at the Metreon.
Oh,
So if we want to walk
let's
that
walk
way
over
for
there for lunch. Yeah.
I guess I know
we
where
can
we're
pick
going.
up. Yeah.
The Post Malone ones were apparently salted caramel flavor, which I like. I like a salted caramel.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
That could work.
Have you all ever
The-
had
the
this? Oh, go ahead.
The toffee flavored Oreos are also very good. I don't think they have a celebrity tie-in, but they're just tasty
Where
stuff.
are they?
I've
are
only
they?
seen them a few times.
Yeah. Well,
I got mint Oreos a few weeks ago by accident, and that was a pleasant surprise because nobody else in my house likes mint, and that means I got a whole giant thing of
all to
Oreos all to
yourself.
myself.
There you go. Just hoard them. Hoard them.
This is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna wrap up. You got any?
Oh, I was going to say this is fascinating to me because so I am a fan of Pocky. I don't know if y'all are familiar,
Love a
but
Pocky.
apparently, so like in Japan, they have all these like limited edition flavors, and they will never bring them back. Sometimes, like that's how it is in Japan. They're just like, we're trying this thing, and it's a limited run, and it's actually a limited run. So sorry if you liked it, too bad. And it's kind of interesting to me to see that this is the parallel to that in the U.S. Like
Yeah.
Oreo is just like, you know what? We're just going to start releasing all these random flavors.
I'm here for it.
Pocky and Kit Kat.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, that too.
It's like the McRib.
Yeah. That's what I always say about this podcast. It's like the McRib
Yeah.
of PC World.
Yeah.
No, I'm
we're the
just kidding.
McRib of the full nerd,
Yeah.
full nerd network.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, check back next week for your fix of PC talk here on the Full Nerd. We actually have a special guest lined up for
Next week?
Let
Really?
me double check. I should have double checked this ahead of time, but yeah, sorry. Here we go. This is the 26th. Yes, so next Tuesday. I'm gonna double check, but it is locked in. I mean, I guess I can just say it now, and you can get some questions in over on Discord. Hopefully, Matt Bach from Puget Systems will be stopping by to talk about hardware. Yeah, and not just about Puget Systems stuff, like
Testing and things?
yeah. I mean, testing hardware. I mean, he's even down to talk about whatever news hits.
Oreos.
We asked him about Oreos.
We should go get those Selena Gomez Oreos.
Yeah, we should.
See what he thinks.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited to speak with him. I haven't had a chance to talk with him too much.
I haven't seen him in like 20 years, so it'll be exciting to see him.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. So check back next week for that, and then the week after that, I actually won't be around. So Elena is going to be stepping in for the hosting duties.
What flavor Oreos are you
Yay.
bringing, Elena? That's
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah, right.
Ooh,
Always be Oreoing.
that's a lot of pressure.
Let's go to
I'll have
99
figure
Ranch.
that out.
Elena.
Okay. Thanks, Lois.
So yeah, and if you want to listen to us on the go, then sign up or point your RSS reader to the podcast anywhere fine podcasts are sold.
Yeah.
So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, Deezer, iHeartRadio. We're on all those services.
Yeah.
If we're not, let us know. We'll hop on those services. Also, once again, look for the announcement of our new Linux podcast too. They hopefully will also be on all the RSS feeds. Need to get that prime that
We got to
pump.
register some social medias too, probably.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, yeah. Also, if you go to newsletters.com,
No, PCWorld.com.
Not news.
Newsletters.com is probably owned by CNET, if I had to guess.
goodness, PCWorld.com/newsletters with an S /sign up. You can sign up for a whole host of PC World newsletters we have, including the one about this show, the Full Nerd
About the Full
podcast.
Nerd Network.
Yeah. Well, no, I think Elena, are you gonna branch out and talk about the whole network, or are you just gonna focus on the podcast in this newsletter?
I have not received a directive telling me to talk about the whole network.
we'll see.
But honestly, the format of the newsletter is more of that. There's, some thoughts about, some pertinent topic related to all the things we talked about on the Full Nerd, and then a light recap of the show, and then like a bunch of like just awesome, interesting news links that I have collected over the week, things that I find interesting or I think that nerds like us would find interesting to read.
It's a great read. Also, I know if you're not into vertical videos, you should still check out over on PC World. Mike Kreider's killing it, doing an awesome job.
Mr. Vertical himself.
And a lot of comments, yeah,
Gosh.
a lot of comments in those. It's fun. There is a running theme of what people say you look like. Yeah.
Look,
What?
sometimes.
I haven't
You haven't seen?
any
Yeah, there-
Oh, no,
comments, and now I'm
don't tell him to
terrified
read the
of them.
comments. Never read the comments,
Yeah,
Mike.
don't read the comments, but there's somebody who usually is like, "Oh, is this blank and blank?" Like, you look like
Wow.
a popular character. I'm sure you've gotten it before. so.
You pop up when I'm watching videos late at night with my daughter before she goes to bed,
She's
and
"Don't
she's
look at
like,
this
"Hey,
bad
it's the
man."
PC World guy. It's Mr. PC World."
It's
And I was
Mr.
like, yeah.
PC World. Yep,
Mr. PC
exactly. I love it.
Another one for the business card. if I
Yeah,
had it.
Mr. PC World. Anyway, that's it. Mike, thank you so much for popping in last minute. Thanks to Brad.
Well, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a good time. Elena, thank you, and good luck on your hosting duties coming up in a couple weeks. It'll be
got
fun.
this.
It'll be fun. You got this. Will, thanks for helping me in not only in this podcast but also finish up this cache.
Is it installed?
I don't think it did. We might have to do it
finished.
again.
It said finished.
Yeah, but then it froze up. So yay.
Look, that's
more,
fate.
More Linux podcast talk. And then thank you everybody for hanging out. But specifically, thank you Willis Live for controlling the verticals and horizontals. Get us out of here.
All right. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And it is lunchtime, so we'll see you next time. Bye.
Yum yum yum. Quit hitting the desk, the table.
Doing it with the
now
song.
I'm not the one who hits it all the time.